One second. I'm rusty. You see, we've been gone for 3 weeks. Welcome back, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of Let's Get Nuts on the Ben Thomas Show. Thanks for coming back. Guys, we have a huge show for you today because, again, it's been a couple weeks since I've been here. We've got Deadpool Mania to talk about because there is so many things coming from that line, I think. And I'm excited to see what you guys in the chat have to say, as well as the boys here on the panel with me. We got J&D versus Inart, the Harry Potter Wars to talk about as well. And I've got, of course, some entertaining warm-ups and entertainment news to chat with you folks about as well. So guys, with all of that said, let's stick around. If you guys like the video, if you don't mind, hit the like button, share, subscribe, anything you can do to help the show, definitely appreciate it. But of course, let's get nuts.
What are you doing? You're completely outnumbered here. Are you nuts? You want to get nuts? You want to get nuts?
You want to get nuts?
You want to get nuts? You want to get nuts? Come on. Let's get nuts. Let's get nuts.
Let's get nuts.
Let's get nuts. Let's get nuts.
Alrighty, guys. We have 10 people here already so far. Thank you for joining in on Sunday. Let's get nuts. Good to see you all. Let's get started with one of my favorite panelists of all time. You once knew him as the man who was square, sometimes spongy, mostly with balls. But now you know him as Classy Thomas. Let's bring him out here. Good to see you, buddy. How you
Good to
doing,
be
man?
here. I'm doing great. How are you doing, Ben?
Good, dude. It's been like at least a month, I think, since we've actually had a chance
It
to
has.
connect. Like,
Yeah,
which is
it really
wild,
has.
dude. Did you have a good July so far? Good Independence Day over
You
in
know,
the States there?
so far so good. I mean, we still got about another 9 days for me to decide if the month has been truly worthwhile. But it's
crazy.
been nice. It's been very nice.
Absolutely. And we tried to stay away from the political side, of course, on the show, but lots of stuff going on over there and
Yeah.
just really across the world. So for depending on what side you're on, I hope for the best for everybody and honestly just safety. And hopefully everybody can come together okay. But I'm so happy to have you back, buddy. So I've got lots to talk to you about today. Not a ton of Star Wars stuff, which is nice too. And I know there's some comic book inspired stuff in here as well that I'm excited for your take on. So
Cool.
great having you back. Let's bring in our next panelist. Of course, you may know him as Louis. You might know him as Lewis. You might know him as Pop Culture Relics. We got Lewis in the chat here with us, buddy. Good to see you back. Thanks so much for joining. And dude, you became one of our channel members of the Tough Nut crew, I think literally last show, so a couple weeks ago. So thank you in person as well for joining. How are you, my friend? Good to see you.
I'm doing well. Thank you for having me, and always good to see you guys. Appreciate the opportunity. Yeah, absolutely. I love what you're doing, and obviously what we try to do for the community. So,
Hell yeah.
happy to be here.
Happy to have you, good sir. We were talking a little bit about just like figures backstage. And I was like, well, let's save it for the show. Let's save it for the show because I've been having this weird, I wouldn't call it a crisis, but I've been having this issue with the collection lately where I come in and I think, okay, it's starting to feel a little overstuffy in here. What can I move on? What's coming? What's on my pre-order list? Where is it going to go when it arrives? I had the Batmobile, the Hot Toys Batmobile, the 89 one, convert on waitlist the other day. And I even put up a poll on Instagram to say, like, should I get this? Should I avoid it? Like, what do you guys think as the community? And it was a pretty resounding get it at like 93% of the vote. And this was over about 50 votes. But I still didn't buy it. Because when I looked around my apartment, I was like, I have nowhere to put this thing. And it comes in a box that's basically the size of a small fridge. So even that, I'm like, I don't know what I'm going to do with that. And it sucked because on one hand, I was like, I really want this Batmobile. But on the other hand, I just don't know what I would do with it once I got it here.
Which one was it again?
That's the Keaton Batmobile, the 89.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah, which is such an iconic
Yeah.
vehicle.
You
I've
should've
already got the
gotten that.
DeLorean, but the DeLorean fits in my TV cabinet out front. So that works. but I didn't know where I would put this Batmobile, so I skipped on it, and now I'm just kicking myself because I'm like, I know that in about a year from now I'm going to move out of this place. At some point I'm going to have another house and all these things, and I'll wish I had it.
See, that's what I was thinking, is that, even you may not have the space for it right now, but that's not a permanent location for you. So once you move out to a larger location, you will probably be able to expand your space a little bit more and be able to design your space around some of these larger items. So I wish you had considered getting it. Because I know how much you love Batman.
I love it.
And
I love
so
it.
I think that would have brought you joy, even if you couldn't put it out right now. Because see, I'm looking around my room right now. I still have stacks of boxes of figures that I'm starting to take out because I've just gotten some new cases to put them in. And so now that I have these cases, I'm starting to take these ones out of boxes because I now have the space to put them. And in looking through them, I'm like, I cannot think of one that I regret getting. Even when I look about things that I would consider, if I had to get rid of something, what would I get rid of? It's difficult for me to choose because I only buy the things that I want. I mean, I don't feel drawn to just impulse buy, because look, impulse buys, it would be like if you're at the grocery store and you decide to pick up a Zagnut. That's an impulse buy. A $200 or $500 figure or vehicle is not an impulse buy unless you have unlimited money in your pocket. But here's another thing on the other side of the coin that I would say is that even if you missed out on it, is not a total loss, because there may be times where things may come back in that you could get later, or you just say, you know what, I got the figure, I've got Keaton. Do I necessarily have to have a vehicle for him? It's not like he's going to be riding around my apartment fighting crime. So, you could just be satisfied with the fact that you have the figures.
Well, that's a good point too, Classy, because I mean the 1.0 came out I think about 10 years ago. This one just came out, but this one's still not USB powered from what I'm pretty sure anyways, which means that like it does give the opportunity for Hot Toys to give us a 3.0 again in another 10 years. And so do I prioritize it now? And I think that was the issue that I was having. Last year my life kind of fell apart. My relationship ended. I sold my house. Like things changed dramatically for me. And now I want another house at some point. Now I want other things again. When I was collecting a year ago, I was pretty stable. I had my basement, like I kind of knew what life was all about. Now I'm like, okay, I have other goals. So Luis, like for you, when you're looking at your collection, like how are you prioritizing what you put in, what you don't put in? Like what's that deciding factor for you, even if maybe at that particular month it's stretching your budget or stretching your collection space? How are you prioritizing?
It's a great question. I came from really small apartment before we had moved in just a few years ago, and I have been collecting, as you may know, really since like 2005. And throughout the years, it was always a matter of, I know I'm going to have the space for this at one point. So I actually just had boxes and boxes, and it got to the point where I had a storage, and I had gone years just renting a storage, which is now kind of a question a lot of people have too. What do you do with all the boxes? And I had nothing to display really. So it really wasn't up until 3 years ago where we moved. And as you can see, I have my display, which has taken really almost 20 years to get to this point. Now, where I'm kind of focused more on limited edition pieces, and when I first got into Hot Toys, 2011, I had sold a lot of my Sideshow premium formats, a lot of figures that I thought, hey, you know what, this is like the best it's going to get, right? So I streamlined my collection in focusing to only Hot Toys. So of course, over the years, they release these amazing pieces, and then years later, they come out with these 2.0s, 3.0s, right? I had the 89 Batmobile at one point. Um, I sold it to put towards the X-Wing that you see right back there. But that's a limited edition piece. I think they made. Thank you. You know, a lot of the stuff that I kind of swap for now are for more limited pieces, things that I feel that will probably never get made. So to me, it was well worth it. And seeing Hot Toys' take now, and I'm glad that you bring up some of these figures that we're going to discuss. The fact that they're already doing another Artisan Joker head just on another variant body, when we haven't even gotten the first Artisan Joker release. I know it's been previewed, so it's coming out, which I'm excited for. It leads me to believe that obviously Hot Toys is a business. They know that collectors are going to grow. Nostalgia is a big thing, and they're trying to get the next generation of collectors. So as you mentioned, you know, this new Batmobile is really just a reissue. They reissued the Tumbler really 3 times. I bought it when they did it again. The 2.0, I guess, even though it's the same exact thing, different packaging. And then they released it really a 3rd time, and I think it's still available on Sideshow. Obviously, we have Jazzink, who's doing a more accurate Batmobile. So, you know, that one could be the one to get. But then who knows? You know, he's doing another version of the classic 66 Batmobile, I think, from the movie. So we could see a Batman Returns Batmobile, right? Which to me, I think of the two, 89 and Returns, I would favor the Returns, especially if you can do the Bat Missile feature. But at the end of the day, these are all companies. They're going to find one way to re-release something because the previous version didn't. It's just a matter of years and knowing, are you satisfied with this particular rendition for what could be a couple years, 3 years, or, you know, 8 to 10 years, right?
And is that fear of missing out feeling, because there is that what if it doesn't come back? What if it doesn't? What if it doesn't? What if
For
it doesn't?
sure.
You know, and I don't want to pay the double. I don't want to be that guy, you know, in search of you know, a reasonable price in 2 years. But sometimes that's the way it has to go. And from the experience, like you said, you've been doing this since 2005. I've been doing it since about 2010. And yeah, I mean, most things that I thought I'd never see again have somehow come back. Terminator and Alien excluded, but even those, I feel like that could still be a this year surprise. You just never know.
Oh, absolutely. I was on a J&D live where he was talking about, interesting enough, the Terminator 2 license, I think, expires possibly end of this year or next. So obviously, you know, I'd love to see what they can do for that. But it'll be interesting to see who picks it up. I know there's kind of rumors that possibly Inart could, which I'm all for that. But at the end of the day, a lot of these IPs are going to have, you know, license renewals. And depending on how big it is, the same companies will either take it or let somebody else have it. But just seeing the evolution of you know, the original Batman or first Joker to now, you know, the DX Artisan, I mean, it's inevitable that these are just going to get better. Just when we think we've seen the epitome, there's always someone who's going to make something slightly better, and then it's just a matter of, well, do I need that, right? So it's tough to be certain, but with Hot Toys' past on big kind of ticket items, they're probably going to do it again if they have the molds.
Well, and there's been often, and great points, good sir, both of you guys, great points, because I feel like that's exactly it too, in the sense of you never know when they're going to upgrade something. Even like the Mantis that we saw a couple weeks ago, you know, like when I first saw that Mantis prototype, I thought she looked pretty good, and then they've shown us the newer version. I'm like, holy shit, that looks even better. My DX11 Joker, I never thought they'd make a Joker that looked anything closer to Heath Ledger than that. And now we're seeing Artisan figures, and we've got Inart and all these other companies. So it's interesting. And, you know, it brings me to my first warm-up question, which is more just kind of fun for thought. But I'm a bit of a nostalgic guy, right? I mean, like, that's one of the reasons that I've always collected. And when I think about the past, oftentimes I think about like how colorful and fun the past used to feel when it came to either movies or television or entertainment or restaurants or, you know, like anything. And I was curious because I saw this post about a week ago, and we're looking at an old school McDonald's versus a new school McDonald's. The new one looks like a prison. I'm shocked that any kid even ever wants to go there anymore at all. But, you know, when I think about the past, I think, you know, what are certain things that I wish they would bring back to us now? And it could be really very broad spectrum. Is there something, Louis, for you that when you think about your past, you wish they still did that now, whether that's in entertainment, maybe it's in figures, maybe it's in restaurants? For me, I just had one, and I'll let you know what mine is while you think. Pizza Hut. When I was a kid, birthday parties were awesome at Pizza Hut. I used to love going there and getting the all-you-can-eat buffet on the Pizza Hut table. And then they got rid of the Pizza Hut buffet. But I heard, I think 2 days ago, that they're bringing Pizza Hut buffet back. And I'm very excited about that. So guys, let me know in the chat as well, whoever's watching there, the 30 of folks here. What is something you guys wish from the past would come back to the present? Do you have anything in mind, Louis, for you that gives you some nostalgia that they no longer have?
Oh man, it's a great question. You know, I've got kids myself, and I live through them, of course, but I know there's things that they're never going to get the same joy that I had growing up. Obviously toys, you know, toys, the packaging, the presentation, articulation. I mean, I look at some of these old Star Wars toys from the vintage collection, and the articulation, even in like episode 2 times, was just so much better. You know, you get a lot more bang for your buck. Obviously it was lower priced, but I think it's just that feeling, you know, of opening up this action figure or this toy that now it's all smart toys. I mean, my kids are all about, you know, tech, right? And screen time, and
True. Yeah.
you know, things are a lot more simpler too. For some reason, plushies are really big, kind of simple design, weird design toys. They love it, you know, and it kind of shows an animation style too over the years. But I love the Pizza Hut buffet. I've always been a fan of that. I remember, you know, that was kind of the thing to do, was like an outing. You know, if you can do the pizza buffet, that was like a big deal. Maybe even swing by Blockbuster afterwards, right? It's just,
Yes,
they
that's a
don't
great
have
one.
that, you know, and my kids aren't going to know about rewinding and, you know, physically kind of changing the channels and anything. Everything can be controlled from our phone, right?
Yeah.
So
They used to piss
there's
my
a
dad
lot.
off so much going to Blockbuster, getting home. We got all our snacks ready. We throw the VHS into the machine, and you have to rewind the movie for like 4.5
Yes.
minutes. It's like,
Yeah,
damn it.
absolutely. You know,
And then you're
gotta
lucky if
be
you don't
trying to rewind.
accidentally like. Well, then you're lucky if you don't accidentally bugger it up. You know what I mean? Because like I don't know if that ever happened to you on a movie night too, where
Yeah.
suddenly your VCR starts spitting out film, and it's like.
Oh, it's scary. Yeah, you're just worried you're gonna get charged like a boatload for that.
Yeah, you're not wrong. Classy, is there anything that you remember from your past, something that was nostalgic at the time, that when you look back, kind of like at this McDonald's picture, you're like, man, how did we stop doing this? Why did we take the fun out of this? What happened? Is there anything like that for you that you wish they would bring back?
You know, I am not totally nostalgic about a lot of things like that. All right, when McDonald's, when I was young, I do remember that having McDonald's for dinner was a treat. Like I think that now people use it as their main meals. I remember that my mother would go out there and she said, okay, she said, I'm gonna pick up McDonald's for dinner. And of course we're like, yay, McDonald's. And we get a little hamburger and our little French fries and our little small drink that they serve to children. And that was before Happy Meals, of course. But that part was kind of special because it was a treat. And and I am nostalgic for that because it felt like it was something special. But now that you can kind of get it anytime you want, and everybody's used to this, or you can call in a Uber Eats or something like that, it's not as special. So I'm nostalgic for the simplicity and the times where it made it feel special. I'm not necessarily nostalgic for those nasty, grubby ball pits and stuff like that, those germ-laden ball pits, rather, and things like that. I'm not nostalgic over that stuff, but it's mainly about just the things that are special, and even to some degree, like even in collecting. Now, I started later, so I wasn't collecting, Louis, when you were. And even Ben, when you started, I think you said around 2010. Hey, what's up, Jose? I didn't start really until about 2019. I think I really started collecting after I got my kidney transplant. So I spent a lot of time at home recovering and recuperating. And then immediately after that, COVID hit. So at that point, collecting was kind of big for me. And I was building a collection, but even then the things felt special, because it didn't feel like everybody was going to be able to get one. And even though that they don't number the items and things like that, it still felt kind of special. The whole things like reissues and things like that kind of hurts on my end, even though I'm happy that maybe I might be able to get something that I didn't have an opportunity to get before. But it's also kind of sad because I'm like, yeah, but before it was kind of special. And now it kind of, I think for the people who already had it, it takes away a little bit of that from them. So like I said, mine is more about the feeling as opposed to I wish they could bring back the old building and the little play area, as opposed to I wish they could find a way to bring back the sentimentality for just being able to enjoy it, to have it as a special treat. You know what
Now
I'm
everything is so quick.
Everything's so quick and
everything
available.
is so quick. Absolutely. Because Louis, the Blockbuster one actually really resonated with me because when I was young, my parents were split, and so I would go and visit my dad every other weekend, and it would be a 2-hour drive every other weekend. And back then, we had he had a big Cadillac, and we would order a pizza from a place called Pizza Delight here in Canada on the 2-hour drive. We'd put it up on the dashboard. And this is back when there was even things like car phones, where he actually had like a car phone right in the center of the seats with a wire that you could pick up. Wild. But then we'd get back to London and we would go to Blockbuster, and you'd smell the popcorn going there in there, and you'd walk up to the wall of new releases, and you'd be lucky if the newest movie was actually on the shelf, because then it became this kind of like this hunt, right? It's like, okay, shit, the movie we were hoping to rent isn't there, but we're here now, so let's pick one or two other films. And that's still honestly one of the ways that I ended up seeing so many movies as a kid and a younger man, because I was like, well, I've never seen this before, but screw it, we got nothing else to do tonight, and I'll watch it. Now with like things like Netflix and those, you could scroll endlessly. Like I was trying to find a movie the other night on what was it? Yeah, Netflix. I think it was Netflix and Prime. I scrolled for like an hour and a half. I could have watched the whole movie practically by the time I figured out what I wanted to watch. But it wasn't the same as being able to like look at the covers and see who's in it and then bring it home in the excitement of it. So there was that. And then one last story, and we'll move on here, guys, because we got lots of collectible stuff to talk about too. McDonald's was one of those places, kind of like you said for you, Thomas, as a treat for me. When I was a kid, my dad had me convinced that the minivan that we drove had a brain of its own. My dad would be like, "We can't eat McDonald's, son, because that's not good for you. Like you can't eat that shit." And I'm like, "Oh, come on, like I'd really like to go, maybe get an ice cream or something, right?" And we'd be driving, coming up towards a McDonald's, and all of a sudden he'd be like, "Car, what the hell? What car? And like somehow the minivan would bring us through the drive-through at McDonald's. And as a kid, I was convinced that the van was on my side. Not realizing, obviously, now as an adult, that it was my dad just treating me to some McDonald's and making it a big deal. But again, it was those experiences that resonated. You know, now it's like you said, Classy. It's that Uber Eats McDonald's brings you over to you. It's just not as exciting. So
Yeah, it's not.
But we have a new channel member in the house. We got Evil Sneaker becoming one of the Tough Nut crew. Thank you so much for becoming one, buddy. We appreciate you. Definitely appreciate it here. Happy to have you in the crew for sure. Definitely go over and check out Evil Sneaker. I think most of the folks that are watching at least live right now, of course, are aware where to find him. He streams with the Wolfpack Wednesday as well. One of my easily favorite shows of the week with the boys there. But if you're new or if you're watching on replay, great content there. So thank you, buddy. Definitely appreciate you guys. Let's move on because we do have lots to talk about. But I do want to say hi to everybody who is a Tough Nut channel member first. We got Alvin J collecting weekly money, Mendez, 6 Scale Mafia, Katera, Feezy's Figures, King Dingling, Sith Scale Collector. Yep, Paul Schreiber, the Batman, the Movie Canon, 1 6-figure Focus, SpongeBob, Square Balls, Rogue One Photography, Peter Cass, Ryan Smith, Collector Joey, Sam Gist, 14 Wellington, Jose G. Hernandez, 12-inch Moose Stream, Collection Obsession, Blurred Dad Life, Danny Spotchka, Rachel Miller, Honest Hansel, Action in the Box, Figurecraft, Neil Horrific, Action Figure Academy, X-Men Supreme, Domaton, Kenneth Jacobson, Valkyrie Magnus, Adrian Cervantes, Alex Serrato, Christopher Balzano, and of course now Evil Sneaker in the Tough Nut crew with us. I do have to update this slide for some of your little people beside there because I think most of us are now becoming the Live Long and Prosper Nut. So you'll love to see it there. But of course we also have a lot of people still watching us live right now, Classy. So I think without further ado, let's definitely say hi to those folks.
Yeah. Is that everyone? I keep wanting more.
Nuts!
Assemble.
We have Cylon in the house, first one in the show today with yay, let's get nuts today. Good to see you, buddy. We got Noble Young here as well. Good to see you, man. Thanks so much. Valkyrie Magnus, one of the more influential folks in my chat, usually always leaving me some great comments. Always appreciate you having being here, buddy, and joining. I says, that's that time of the week to get nuts. Good afternoon, guys. What's up, Ben Thomas? He also just got the Mace Windu in his collection, and what I didn't realize is how much taller Mace is than the old Nick Fury Hot Toys, like a bit change in scale there, which is odd. But good to see you here. We got Summers fan. Yeah, perfect. Yo, what's up? Good to see you. We got 12-inch Moose Stream himself. He says, hello, community of collectors. I went nuts last night. If you know, you know. Between, by the way, us, U.S. elections went nuts today, too. Yeah, no doubt. I saw that Joe Biden has dropped out of the race. So I won't talk too much politics here, but that is, I think, probably a good thing. We got Thalia Meyer in the chat. Hello, everyone. Good to see you. We got Eclectic Collector here in the chat with us as well. Good to see you, buddy. We got Pop Cultural Relics in the channel, in the panel, I should say, in the chat as well. Good to see you. We got Arelis Delgato in the chat with us. Hi, everyone. She mentioned a good one, too, that was nostalgic, is going to the library. Totally agree with that. That's how I read some of my favorite books of all time. Kind of the same way that it was with Blockbuster. Just finding a book that looks interesting, sitting down, and diving in. So great call on that one. We got one Adam 12th on the channel here with us as well, one of our members and chatters. Hey guys, let's get nuts. If you haven't again already checked out one Adam 12th, he's really making a valiant effort at getting his YouTube channel started, and his daughter is actually helping him with some of his unboxings. So it's kind of fun to hear her commentary in the background while he gets things opened up. So definitely check out one Adam 12th there. We got Low Key Collector in the chat with us. Calvin, good to see you, buddy. Thanks for joining in, of course. We got Honest Hansel in the chat. How's it nutting today? Love to see it. Honest Hansel was our channel member who actually won the King Shark giveaway. which is awesome. I'm glad it finally made it out to him there. He's in Edmonton, which is pretty close to where I'm here, only a couple hours away. So that was
Well,
really
honest,
cool to see.
make sure to send me your address so I know where to pick it up from. I just need to know where to get my King Shark at. So
That's good.
good to
We
know.
got
There you go.
Clinton Martin in the chat. Howdy, folks. Good to see you, buddy. We got Renz Tolentino in the chat. Good to see you, buddy. Thanks for being here. We got SG Collectibles in the chat. What's up, guys? Good to see you, buddy. Let's see here. I want to make sure I don't miss anybody before we move. We got Thrawn's office with those badass legs. Love to see it. Nuttastic. Good to see you, buddy. Let's see. I think we got most folks. We got Yomo in the chat with us as well, saying, what's up to Moose Stream? Good to see it. Kenny Lying says Pizza Hut holds lots of nostalgia for me. Oh, dude, me too. In fact, I actually met a couple of my previous girlfriends from Pizza Hut as well. So shoot, they weren't Pizza the Hut like in Spaceballs, but they were cute, just the same. We got Brick Artemis himself here with us as well. What's up, everybody? Good to see you, buddy. Thanks for popping through. Evil Sneaker, of course, new channel member, and saying what's up to everybody here with us. Do we have everybody? Jose G. Hernandez, can't forget about Jose Plus. Long time no see. When are we going to get Jose back? Nobody knows. He's a man of mystery, but make sure you tell me next time you can join, buddy. We'd love to have you back here in the show. I think that's everybody for now. If I missed anybody, shout me out in the chat, and I'll make sure to say hi to you guys. Classy, we got some news here officially that the Red Hulk is going to be in the new Thunderbolts film. And I was curious if this changes your excitement level for the film, because I feel like a lot of people haven't really been saying much. Deadpool and Wolverine is kind of the hot topic right now. That's the film that so many of us comic nerds are kind of looking forward to. Thunderbolts, I didn't necessarily love everybody that they're putting together as part of the team. I think they're all individually, they all have their strengths and weaknesses as characters, but none of them I'm like, oh my god, I can't wait to see it. When Thunderbolt Ross was supposed to be in this film, of course, William Hurt passed away last year, and an amazing actor. I loved him in so many films. Honestly, Lost in Space even was one of those films with him in it, that just him as the dad, just like right in the chest. But yeah, William Hurt is amazing. It sucks that we lost him last year. But he was replaced, of course, by Harrison Ford. And everybody was kind of like, well, Thunderbolt Ross in the comics does have this story arc where he kind of becomes the Red Hulk. Well, not kind of, he does. If Harrison Ford's going to be the Red Hulk, like, is that weird? Like, is he too old to play the role? Is he going to look like Harrison Ford as the Red Hulk, similar to what Mark Ruffalo looks like? Now, this picture on the right is not a confirmation, but it is I think it is like an AI generated image. So, but the picture on the left is the official announcement of him being in here. So, curious for you, Classy, does this amp up your excitement for Thunderbolts? Does it change anything for you? What are your thoughts there?
You know, I think for me, it does kind of it makes Thunderbolts seem a little bit more exciting now, knowing that number one, you're going to have Red Hulk, and then number two, because as you said earlier, Harrison Ford isn't super young anymore, and you know, I have concerns. Well, I mean, he's not going to have to do stunts or anything like that, because, you know, you're talking about a Hulk that's going to be AI generated. But, you know, I do worry about his age, about his longevity in the as that role of Thunderbolt Ross. So the earlier we get to see him, the more excited I am. So yeah, I think this does elevate it a bit for me, because just like you said, the lineup that they had was, I would see Thunderbolts, especially knowing how they're focusing more on story these days. I would see it anyway, but this gives me a little bit more incentive.
That's fair.
It does.
Luis, for you, I mean, I don't know if you're a huge Hulk fan. For me, watching the Marvel Cinematic Universe, one of the things that really took the wind out of my sails was what they did to the actual Hulk, right? Yeah, I mean, he starts out as kind of a raging Hulk. He's awesome. He's badass. You know, you wouldn't like me when I'm angry kind of style Hulk. Remember when he transitions in Avengers, you know, like, that's my secret. I'm always angry. He turns into the Hulk. He punches that thing in the face. It's like, damn, that's so cool. And his evolution into Smart Hulk just felt like devastating in a way. Like, I know that there are some elements of the comics that are there, but it just wasn't exciting. This feels like a return maybe back to that level of like badassery Hulk, but we don't know if he's going to be good guy. We don't know if he's going to be kind of a bad guy. I don't know how we really can be a bad guy, because I don't think anybody in the Thunderbolts team could actually take on a Hulk like effectively. Even Steve Rogers, who is no longer, of course, Captain America, he had a hard time with Thanos still. He still went toe-to-toe with him, but going toe-to-toe with a Hulk is a different story. What are your thoughts on a Red Hulk joining MCU and it being even Harrison Ford?
Huge Ford fan, so I'm all for it. I love Ford. I you know, a lot of my collection kind of is surrounded with Ford, so I'm definitely on board. You know, I wasn't a big fan of was it the Falcon and Winter Soldier series? So when they announced Cap 4, I'm just like, oh, okay, you know, if it's anything kind of continuing that, I don't know if I'll be rushing to the theaters to watch it. Obviously, with the trailer being out, it kind of calmed a lot of that kind of questions, or answered that kind of questioning, you know, am I going to watch this in the theater? Am I going to wait for it to stream? I'm not as eager to like maybe watch it day one like I would, you know, previous MCU films, and unfortunately it's been years for that. But definitely I think having Harrison Ford in it will help. I too didn't like the direction that they took Ruffalo's Hulk. Like you said, I feel like Avengers was such a build-up, and it was like a mystery, especially coming from Norton's Hulk, which I liked a lot. So to see that build up to just him not doing anything really in Endgame was a bit of a letdown. Then you had She-Hulk, which he was really just a supporting character at that point. So yeah, I mean, I think with Ford's demeanor, kind of that grumpy old man, if they can just take how he is now and magnify it to like Hulk level, I think it'll be great. So hopefully they you know, make Hulk this just crazy, just badass looking person, and make him fearful, right? Like be scared of this guy running at you,
Sure.
as opposed to, you know, smart Hulk and
Taking selfies at a diner.
yeah, exactly. Like it's just a complete 180. So hopefully this will do what the Hulk did for the Avengers first phase. Hopefully it'll do that for the next phase, because they need that grime again. They need that that strength, and obviously Hulk, he can do a lot.
Well said. Well said. Let us know, guys, in the chat, if you're watching on replay, what are your thoughts on knowing that a Red Hulk is going to be in Thunderbolts? Does this amp up your excitement? Does it change anything for you at all? Are you going to see it in the theater, or are you going to wait till it hits streaming? I'd be curious to see what you guys have to say about it. Now, over the last couple of weeks, we've also seen some more announcements with regards to the upcoming DC universe from James Gunn, anyways, his Superman. And I wanted to share this mostly for the Clark Kent side of it, because I think one of the things that we often rag on about Superman is, how does nobody tell that it's Superman? like what, the glasses? Like, really? Like, and that's the only differentiator? Like, especially somebody who's like a, you know, crack part, you know, reporter like Lois Lane. Like, how does she not tell the difference, you know, here? But this photo was shared of us, or for us here, both of the upcoming logo for Superman's emblem, which it's definitely growing on me, I will say. And then what he looks like as his Superman form, his Kal-El, versus his Clark Kent dressed down with the glasses on reporter look. And I gotta say, I actually think that this is so far the best kind of divergence of look since Chris Reeve. I loved Christopher Reeve as Superman. I mean, I think he'll always be my Superman kind of in the heart. While I love Henry Cavill, don't get me wrong, Christopher Reeve is the one that made me love Superman. And one of the things that I loved about Christopher Reeve was his ability to change his entire body language. When he was Superman, you'd see him broaden his shoulders, and he'd become Superman. And then he was immediately able to kind of shrink into himself, this huge hulking man, into the Clark Kent kind of bumbling, stumbling dude. And I thought that, like, he did an amazing job that way. I think these two pictures look like pretty different people, considering, and I actually think that this could be pretty darn convincing with regards to this actor. But I was curious if this changed anything for you guys, or even, again, if it makes you more excited. For me, this does make it more exciting for me, because I know not everybody is a James Gunn fan. That's totally okay, but I do think he knows his comics, for sure. And I think he understands what makes Superman Superman, and I do think he also understands what makes Clark Kent Clark Kent. And if he can bring that kind of character to life, I'm even more excited seeing some of these images. Luis, I'll start with you. Is there anything that these kind of leaked photos have shown, and I'll only show these ones as well, of him as Clark Kent or as Superman that got you any more excited for the upcoming film?
I mean, it's Superman for me, so I'm gonna watch regardless. I'll echo what you said. Yeah, I think this is the first Clark Kent Superman where they actually look different, and they finally figured out that different hairstyles will do that, right? You have one that's a little bit more on the modern side, very, very popular hairstyle these days.
Yeah, it is, yeah.
And then you have another where it's more, the traditional Superman look. So it does look like two separate people, so I can finally see that. The suit, of course, I said this before, I think the last time I was here, I don't think it'll lend itself well to figure form. Just seeing how thick it looks on set, and I'm sure they'll CGI some stuff, but that's got, for me, that's a museum pose 100%. I'm not gonna bend those arms or anything like that, for fear of it cracking, of course, but I'll watch it. Nothing's really deterred me from not wanting to watch it, just because I'm a Superman fan and big DC fan. But yeah, I mean, just looks pretty modern take on Superman. Great, one of my favorite heroes, and hopefully they just do it right. That's it. Take the time that you need, but hopefully they just do it right. We'll see.
Absolutely. 91 Pulp here says, suit color looks good, but not a fan of it otherwise. Totally fair. I think it's one of those things I almost wish, and we said this a couple weeks ago, I almost wish they hadn't shown us anything yet. They did a really good job with that with even Man of Steel. They'd given us one teaser image of him kind of busting through, I think it was like a safe or a wall, which was pretty cool. But otherwise, we didn't really get to see what it would look like in action until the film. He steps out on screen, and that's when he blasts off from his base there, and that was such a cool look, and it got me bought in. I think if they'd been able to not show us anything of the suit up till now, I think it would be that much cooler when you see it on screen for the first time, because especially if you're enjoying the movie, actively enjoying it, and then you see it, I feel like you're not going to be like, oh, it looks like shit, so now I'm out of the movie. I think you'd be like, oh, it looks different, but let's see where it goes. And I think people would have been more willing to give it a chance. The fact that we can pull it apart is a little rough. One of the things that I've been really trying to avoid is all these Deadpool spoilers. Just stop showing us stuff from this movie. I just don't want to see any more. I just can't wait to see the film itself. But Classy, I mean, you remember, of course, the Christopher Reeve, you'll believe a man can fly. Right? Yes. You'll believe it when you see it. And he did such an amazing job, like I said, of transitioning between Superman and Clark Kent. What are your thoughts now seeing, this actor in the role, as well as the suit that we're seeing here?
I have seen Corn Sweat in, I think I saw him in Pearl. I think I recommended people seeing that. And in seeing him there, I was like, wow, he does have an imposing physique. And they say that he even went with a trainer and got even a little bit more buff. Now that symbol, the emblem, I didn't realize it, but that looks exactly, well, I mean, it's a little bit more modernized, but it pretty much looks identical to the original emblem of Superman from Action Comics when he was holding up the car, his first appearance. And I didn't realize how close they had come to recreating that. And I said, wow, they're kind of going back. They're really going back and touching on things. And I like the suit. I don't like the fit. I think that and another thing that I wish that that people would stop doing is stop putting all these intricate designs and stitch work and padding. Superman doesn't need padding. I mean, give him a good old fashioned. They have thicker spandex, but give him something like that that's going to hug his physique, so that people can see Superman's body. Because I know that James Gunn has kind of implied that he's going to be using some of the plot points and stories that from Action Comics, the recent version, where which I'll be very excited if they use a lot of that, because that was probably one of the greatest and most interesting storylines that I recall, and I think he could pull that off. I just think that the suit needed a little bit of work, and it didn't need to be so busy. I think that they just kind of because I love the way the cape fits in at the shoulders. I think that's awesome because it kind of gives it a little bit of that New 52 vibe. But then also the suit looks a little bit more old school. I mean, it kind of reminds me of a little bit of Mon-El from Superboy and the Legion of Superheroes. Mon-El, his cousin from the future.
Oh, okay.
That costume, it doesn't look like his costume, but it kind of reminds me of that for some reason, and I kind of dig it. I really do think that's well, wait a minute, I don't think. Well, I might have that wrong. Because I know he's a Daxamite, but yeah, Mon-El's a Daxamite, so I don't think that they were actual cousins. But still, I mean, I'm excited. I think this is going to be. I trust. I've not been disappointed with James Gunn. Mm-hmm. He took, for example, that mess of the Suicide Squad and turned it into something I want to watch. And
which is unfortunate because a lot of people didn't see the Suicide Squad. A lot of folks didn't see it, and it was a much more superior movie to the first one.
Yeah, what a shame. And then they brought in Starro. I mean, come on. I mean, one of the goofiest villains in DC, but I mean, it made it so interesting. I was like, wow, I never thought I'd enjoy seeing Starro.
Live action Starro, yeah.
Yeah, but this, I mean, I think he's able to really pull in the mythos and bring it to screen in a way that people can really get. And even if you aren't a fan, it gives you a chance to kind of start digging them. Just like Guardians of the Galaxy. Nobody had ever, well, the Guardians of the Galaxy that I remember is from like the 70s and 80s. So this was the newer version, but pretty much nobody had ever heard of that team. And now, you know, in the MCU, they've become one of the most popular teams.
But see, that's where I would challenge you, Classy,
really?
Is that, like, I think with regards to Guardians, I think you're right. A lot of people hadn't ever heard of the Guardians, including myself. Like, I'd never read any comics of Guardians. Mm-hmm. So I was a pretty blank slate in terms of my expectation. Right? It's like, as long as the movies resonated with me, if I like the characters, if I like the script, if I, you know, then I'd probably like it because it was a comic book inspired film. With Superman, if you go out to anybody, it doesn't even have to be, you know, nerds like us, you know, like if you go to anybody and say name 3 superheroes, they're probably going to say Superman, Batman, and Spider-Man or Wonder Woman, absolutely, right? In that kind of top 5, right? I think a lot more people have an expectation for what Superman needs to be, and so that's why it's so much harder of a character to nail. Because you're not going to be able to make everybody happy. Everybody has a different interpretation of what makes Superman Superman. And that makes it really hard because I don't think it comes down to the suit. I think it comes down to that alien trying to fit in on a planet, Earth, right? Trying to find a way to help people. That goodness within, how he relates to humanity, all of that is what really makes Superman Superman. Because otherwise, you're absolutely right. He doesn't need armored padding. He's Superman. Like, he could fly around naked and he'd be fine. It has everything else to do with how he fits with humanity that will make this movie what it is. Whereas Guardians was a lot more blank slate. Like, again, if it was a fun, entertaining movie, they could get people on board. And so I'll be curious to see what happens with this, because I think that there's a lot of good being shown, but I'm still holding my breath until we actually get a chance to see it.
Yeah, but I think that for me though is that I think I've just outlined the things that I find problematic with the costume, but I'm more excited about the potential because of the story that I think he's going to be telling, and that's the thing that gets me. I mean, James Gunn is a very good storyteller, and I think the costume might have been a miss, but I think I have to see it in action. Just like you said, I wish I hadn't seen it. I wish I had seen it for the first time in a movie, because in that way I get a chance to kind of get a feel for it. But now I think that when he finally does show up on screen with it, I'm going to see what they do with it. And if they do something with it that looks good on screen, I will probably get on. I will get on board with it because it's Superman, and if it's something that, like, when I look at it, if it doesn't make me vomit, I'll be on board.
Hell yeah! Well said, Classy. Thank you, Luis. Let's move on, because we got lots of figure news I want to talk about as well, guys. But let us know if you're watching on replay. What are your thoughts on everything we're seeing from James Gunn's DC Superman here? Are you excited? Are you kind of like Classy? You're excited about the story and maybe not loving the suit. Maybe you're like me, feeling optimistic now that you've seen what he looks like as Clark Kent and Superman. That divergence in that personality, that ability to change and transition. Like, how is that going to play in to the story? Will we believe him as Superman? Remains to be seen. But let's move on. I wanted to quickly mention here, and I won't go through the panel on this one, but Covered Geekly has let us know here that there's a reminder that the Kickass director Matthew Vaughn has confirmed that Kickass 3 is being worked on and wants the original cast back. This is something that I'm very excited about. I loved Kickass 1. I thought it was like one of my favorite comic book inspired films of all time. And I loved how violent it was, how gritty it was. Nicolas Cage was in there. I mean, great characters and cast for sure. I didn't love the second movie, and Jim Carrey was in there as kind of like a villain, and it went a little too cheeseball for me. But it's now been years since the second film came out, and some of these actors have now gone on to have very like prolific careers. And so I'm really excited to see a potential return of Kick-Ass 3, especially if we get all of these castmates back. But then also we got some interesting news that Spaceballs 2 is in the works with Mel Brooks and Josh Gad, which is absolutely amazing. Now, one of the things that I think I'm most upset about here is that, of course, Bill Pullman not be returning because he has unfortunately passed away, as well as John Candy, which, I mean, those two alone in the first film are two of my favorite characters from that original film. Of course, the remainder of the cast, for the most part, can have an opportunity to come back if that's something that they're interested in doing. And Mel Brooks, in my opinion, is a comedic genius. And so I'll be curious to see what this could look like. I've heard some, funny titles get thrown around, like, The Quest for More Money, some of those things. Like, I love it. Parody is something that I do reminisce about. I feel like, when we were talking earlier about McDonald's and, things that you wish they'd bring back a little bit more, I liked the parody nature of this film as well as other films of its kind of genre. There was a lot of good there and a lot of great laughs to be had. I'll be curious to see what they do here. Luis, are you a fan of the original Spaceballs? Is this something you'd be excited to see a number 2 on, or is this something you actually think they should just leave alone? Like, maybe this was a gem, don't touch it. What are your thoughts there?
Yeah, I huge Spaceballs fan, of course. Love Star Wars, of the parody. I am excited of the news, of course, but I think it's one of those that you just don't need a sequel to. For example, you talk about parodies. I love, Coming to America, the parody of McDonald's versus McDowell's, that one of those films that didn't need a sequel, right? And I know nostalgia is huge. Unfortunately, Hollywood is really gripping onto that with all these sequels and potential prequels and whatnot. But as you said, two of the biggest stars gone. Would love to see Rick Moranis in something, and of course, this would be great. I feel like he was that really the star of the whole film. But I don't know. I mean, I'll watch it for sure. For sure, I'll watch this. But it's just one of those films that are so good, you don't need to really do anything with it. And Kickass too. I mean, Kickass was a good one. I actually remember going to the San Diego Comic-Con panel for that and seeing the reaction. And I knew nothing of Kickass before going and seeing the little film that they had, which was Big Daddy essentially teaching Hit Girl how to shoot. And after that, I mean, the audience just went crazy, and they knew they had something big. So to see a potential third one, especially with the original cast, I think that movie kind of catapulted Glowy, to stardom. I mean, ever since then, she just was in a whole bunch of movies thereafter. So, one that I would definitely see, especially if they do get the original cast. But I think Spaceballs, first one is just a classic. Leave it alone. But if they do make it, then sounds like not if, but when, I'll for sure watch that and support it.
Would you ever collect any figures from this movie?
Oh yeah, for sure.
Yeah. Is there anyone that stands out? Like that would be the one I'd want, or would you want like?
I mean, Dark Lord, of course. And that's the thing. That was one of Lucas's main things was you cannot merchandise. I'll let you do it, but you can't have any merchandise. And of course they nod to that in the film, which was just great. So yeah, I would easily take the full main cast, a couple troopers, of course, the combing troopers. I mean, it's something that would make an awesome display.
The desert.
Yeah, exactly. So I would for sure. I mean, I couldn't be a Star Wars fan and like not have any Spaceballs figures if they were made. I know there were some custom ones out there, but I would easily take them.
Totally makes sense. Totally well said, good sir.
Who is he? He's an asshole, sir. I know that. What's his name? That is his name, sir. Asshole. Major asshole. And his cousin? He's an asshole too, sir. Gun is made first class, Philip asshole. How many assholes we got on this ship anyhow? Yo! I knew it. I'm surrounded by assholes. Keep firing, assholes!
Love it.
So good.
They don't make them like that anymore.
They do not. Classy. Quick thoughts, and then we'll move on to figure news. Kickass or Spaceballs 2 coming back. Any of these two exciting you?
I think both of them would sound very interesting. It would be interesting now to see a grown-up buff Kickass and a grown-up Hit Girl to see how they've kind of transitioned. It'll also be interesting to see if John Romita Jr. does another comic to kind of coincide with this. That would be awesome. But for Spaceballs, I'm also on board for that because Mel Brooks is, as you said, a genius. As a matter of fact, one of my movies for movie week will be a Mel Brooks film. So, unfortunately, I didn't choose Spaceballs, but I will be reviewing Blazing Saddles when we do that. And
the bean scene in that movie still kills me.
So, just being able to see them bring back these, and I think this combination of Mel Brooks and Josh Gad might be kind of a cool combination. I hope that they don't do anything regarding episodes 4, 5, and 6. I hope that they either do the prequel or the
sequel.
Yeah, or the sequel, because I think that would be a way of addressing the loss of Pullman and Candy by being able to have other people that you introduce, but not saying, well, why don't we have them? I think if they do the other ones and parody those sides, I think it might be a fun way of exploring the universe, or even doing some of these Mandalorian or something like that. Doing some of these other offshoots of the Star Wars universe. And I can't really name them because I'm not a Star Wars aficionado. The only things I know are for New Hope, and then the other two after that. So the rest of it's kind of like an enigma to me. So, but yeah, I think whatever they put out is going to be funny, and it's going to be something that I think the people will enjoy. And anytime somebody gets to see something that Mel Brooks has done, is a good day.
Absolutely. Well said. Aurelius Delgado says, I hope they have the clones. 100%. I also could see the appeal of the sequels. And just because, the sequels, while they're not certainly my favorite of the Star Wars films, there's a lot of things that I feel like you could parody from those movies. That there's enough kind of like resounding like dislike for the film that I think people want to laugh at it a little bit more, and it might actually make people like those films too, right? Because it's like if you can laugh at it, sometimes you can hate it less after the fact, and I think that's a kind of a fun thing. So, guys, let us know. Are you guys excited for Kickass 2? Are you excited? Or sorry, 3? Are you excited for Spaceballs 2? Let us know. Comments in the chat. We're at the halfway point. I want to talk some 6-scale figures. If you guys don't mind, everybody watching, we got about 40 people watching right now. Thank you so much for getting nuts with us here on a Sunday, as always. If you don't mind hitting the like button, if you haven't already, I always forget to do that on my friends' streams. If you guys can, that would be helpful just to drive some traffic back to the show now that we are back here on Sundays. But I wanted to mention really quick that Nenjin Tim, the developer from Exo 6, has let us know here that apparently there's a 35% increase in demand for the Krug figure. Of course, the Klingon played by Christopher Lloyd from The Search for Spock. One of my favorite original trilogy or original series films, I should say. Happy to see that he's being positively received. I just got my Sideshow Collectibles notification yesterday that my Krug is now significantly delayed, apparently, from Exo 6. So I do feel like this post came out from the developer because there was ultimately going to be a bit of a delay. But I also think he's going to be one of the figures to look at from Exo 6 because this is the first time we're seeing them actually do any kind of rooted hair on a figure, and at the price point for this guy, he's about $120 more than the next average Exo 6 release. So there's a lot of criticism here for this because if this doesn't turn out very well, this is absolutely in that Hot Toys kind of price point, which is high. Honestly, it's high. I think for me it was $320 Canadian, I want to say, maybe even more, maybe $340. So a lot. Now, the other cool thing is that the outfit that Krug is wearing, Worf actually wears in an episode of TNG. So I would not be surprised that once they dial in a Worf or a Michael Dorn head sculpt, that we also see maybe this outfit come back with a Worf head on there as well. But I don't know, you guys, Classy, I know you're not the biggest Trek fan. I can't remember, Lewis, are you a Trek fan or mostly Star Wars for you?
I like Trek, but not enough to collect any of the figures or much merchandise.
Yeah.
Totally makes sense.
But
I
this
do.
picture looks good.
Oh yeah,
looks,
for sure.
That's one of the better looking ones that I've seen from Exo 6. So yeah, I think that's nice looking.
He's a very imposing villain. Christopher Lloyd just himself. I mean, he was kind of crazy dude, right? I mean, he plays this Klingon leader beautifully, and the armor set is so beautiful when it comes to like that kind of traditional Klingon look. So I'm really excited for it, but remains to be seen. Once I get it in the collection, I'm definitely going to post a review here on the Ben Thomas Show, so stay tuned for that. If I get any more updates from Exo 6, I will definitely let you guys know. I connect a lot with Anthony from 6-Scale Mafia. Anthony right now is helping with a lot of the figure photography for Exo 6, which I'm now very happy about because the photo qualities of the figures that he's been helping with versus some of the old blogger photos are like night and day difference. And to be honest, it helps sell these products to even me when I'm seeing better photos of them. When you're seeing photos that are blurry and shit, that just does not help. Some of these ones that Anthony's taking is pretty amazing. So, and Anthony's one of our channel members, so thanks for just always supporting if you're watching here on the replay later, good sir. But let's move on to this one because this is something that I kind of always wondered if Hot Toys would ever give us something along these lines, anyways. But I kind of always thought, well, like, how would they do it? What was like, how will they bring a hologram to life? And of course, this is looking at the Darth Maul hologram. Now, it's interesting because we get a chance to see that it is an LED light up powered by USB. So essentially, it's a great, very cool nightlight. But this is not a figure. Let's be clear here. This thing has no articulation.
Oh.
It is 100% just a Darth Maul lit up table statue. And while I do think it's cool, and while I do think they actually captured the lines of the hologram, when you look at the hologram, it's like they kind of look like they're almost like 3D printed lines. I think they captured that really well. But as of right now, I don't know if a price has been posted. Guys, let me know in the chat if a price has gone up for this guy. If that's the case, like, I would hope to see this guy at least 150 or under. Anything more than that, and I actually think it's way too costly. But it also makes me wonder if we'll see this recreated in other hologram formats as well, because there's lots of characters that do show up in Star Wars as a hologram. Luis, I'll start with you because I know you're a big Star Wars guy. Is this something you think you could add to the collection, especially if the price point is right?
100%. Unfortunately, I'm a huge Maul fan. If you couldn't tell right here. So yes, this I would definitely add. I've already, unfortunately, made up my mind. I think rumor could be possibly like 170-ish is what I may have seen floating around. I am a little disappointed in Hot Toys' The Phantom Menace lineup to celebrate the 25th anniversary. Obviously, reissue with Maul, which looks great. I did order that. The Droidicas, I mean, and now this, right? That's really all we got. They easily could have done another variant of the Battle Droid, and I'm sure they will. But this is just them doing the business thing that I had said, right? They're trying to tap into a different market, I think, and you know, they tried it with the power pose. I don't think that really went well, but knowing that it's an accessory piece and this could lead to Darth Sidious hologram, who's, you know, right next to him in this scene, essentially. A lot of holograms that were once included as a accessory could now be its own thing, and unfortunately, people like me who just love Maul and has to kind of consume all things Maul, that's what it looks like they're going for. So yeah, I think kind of the average collector will probably pass on these given the price if it is north of 150, but you get the right character and the right kind of scene, which is his first introduction to the Phantom Menace, and yeah, you'll have people buy it. That's at least for me. So yeah, it's definitely going in the collection.
Makes sense. And great thoughts there too in terms of the character, kind of the presence from the Phantom Menace. I agree. When they teased the Phantom Menace was coming, I was kind of excited to see what they might give us. I definitely was speculating on like the child version of Anakin, maybe like an Anakin in like in a pod racer, maybe just the cockpit of it or something like that. Maybe if he didn't want,
awesome.
They didn't want to give us like a whole child or something like, but not so far. 91 Pulp says they could have given us a Padawan Obi-Wan or a 2.0 Qui-Gon. Instead, we get a hologram statue. So I mean, I can see why, like, for some folks this takes the wind out of the sails. I also think in terms of display, this could be really cool. I saw somebody else here. Renz Tolentino says, "What if this hologram is a hologram? That's awesome. Is a teaser for Phantom Menace Sidious? They'll pair up great." They would pair up great, but I don't want to see another Sidious at this point. We've got the Clone Wars coming, and we've got the Revenge of the Sith version coming. I honestly think if we're going to get another Sidious, I think that it should be the Emperor Palpatine or Emperor from Return of the Jedi to pair with our Return of the Jedi Vader that's on the way. Especially since that Return of the Jedi Vader has like the electrocution helmet. I think we have to get an upgrade of him on throne at some point. So I would rather see that than a Phantom Menace Palpatine, or I should say Sidious. But I think it could be cool to see a Palpatine, though, in his actual robes instead. If we were going to go to the Ian McDermott route again, seeing him in the Palpatine robes before we kind of know him as Sidious, I think could be pretty cool. Again, for me, I don't love this unless the price is justified. If honestly, even for me, I knew you were saying the 170 is the rumor. I think that's too expensive. I feel like this could be recreated by somebody who's got a little bit of painting skill and a really good 3D printer. I just don't feel like it's that exciting for me. I do like the light up feature, but if you don't have the ability to run the cords very well in your display, the turned off version of them kind of just like, it looks dead. It just doesn't look like a hologram anymore. And I think it might be something that people get and then move on once they get kind of immediately bored with it, unless they really have a good way to vision it or envision it in their display. Classy, before we move on, do you have any thoughts on what Hot Toys is doing here by giving us a hologram statue nightlight thing? What are your thoughts here, buddy?
I have no thoughts.
No thoughts at all. You love to see it.
I mean, that's not my thing, so I don't really have any thoughts one way or the other.
No worries.
Well, Ben, now that you mention Episode 6 Emperor, Hot Toys is going to do a electrocuted, lightning coming out of his hands Emperor, bluish like this, just so Vader can hold him up. So
they have to, they have to give us that. I'm shocked we haven't already seen it, to be fully honest. So, but I'll be curious to see how many more of these style statues kind of come out from the hologram look. At first I thought it was like a Force ghost when the very first photo I saw, and then I was like, wait, he never comes or shows up as a Force ghost, so obviously that's not the case. But it does also make me wonder if we'll see 6-scale Force ghosts as well of some of our favorite characters. Because I think if they can pull this off, they could pull off a Force ghost in some way or another. Especially, again, if they could kind of illuminate it. Maybe you have a grassy base like you see at the end of the Return of the Jedi when they're all kind of in the woods and they show up. You could have some kind of cool bush in front that would allow them to still be illuminated as ghosts and something similar. I actually think I would like that more than this, but we'll see. Remains to be seen. Guys, Deadpool Mania is upon us, and I feel like it's touching so many places, right? I mean, I'm seeing that Burger King has their wrapping right now is like red and yellow wrapping for their hamburgers. It's showing up at Simpsons. Everybody's talking about it. I've already got my tickets pre-ordered for the film. I'm seeing it on the Sunday, so I'm not seeing it open night, but I'm seeing it technically opening weekend. It's the first time that I can honestly remember where I've actually pre-ordered movie tickets in advance. And of course, when it comes to all things collectibles, we're starting to see lots of different collectibles. So this is not 1/6 scale. This is 1-to-1 scale. This is a statue of Wolverine, a statue of Deadpool, and then we're getting a chance to see them as statues together. They're over 2 meters tall. I've seen Joao Bretta, shout out to Big Bretta's channel, Joao. I've seen him say that these should be somewhere in the $12,000 to $13,000 range each. That's US dollars. So, of course, Canadian dollars, we're looking at closer to $18K each, which is insane. This would nearly be a $35 to $40K collection for me if I ever wanted statues, which I don't. And I'm not a statue collector, and I won't pretend to be so. But I think it's pretty cool that Hot Toys specifically is giving this to people who can even fathomably afford it. I remember, I think it was last year, or maybe within the last year anyways, we saw that life-size Hulkbuster statue. I think that was like $75,000 from my recollection. Wow. And everybody was like, no, who's going to buy this? Like, who is this for? And then those things sold out. Those are Hulkbusters. So this is for somebody, and these will definitely sell out. I can't even fathom what the shipping would be on something that's life-size like this. But Classy, for you, just seeing Deadpool Mania really firing on all cylinders, and of course 6-scale being what you collect, if you were, let's just pose it this way, if you were rich, if you were loaded, and you had the ability to put this in a collection room, is this something that you would consider?
Yeah, if I were rich and had the room, absolutely. I think they're awesome. Plus, like I said, I am a big I'm a big time Deadpool dude, and I'm also a big time Wolverine dude. Um, I'm not going to say that I'm as committed to Hugh Jackman as Wolverine, but I do love his performance. But I've got Wolverines all over the place. I mean, I've got, you know, probably when I get one or two more figures, I'm going to be able to have a display of just Wolverines. So, and of course, with my Deadpools, I've got Dusty Deadpool, Deadpool 2. I had a Deadpool one, but I gave it to my nephew. And I've got, not Corpse, Zombie Deadpool. And then I will have the upcoming Deadpool. And I'm just going to have them scattered throughout the collection, just kind of hanging out with other groups and doing his little Deadpool thing. So, if I had the room, that would be an awesome. If I had a big collection room, I would have both of them at the entrance of the room, ushering people in. Have one on each side,
That could be
just
crazy.
doing their thing. And then you enter the room, then you see the displays of the 6 scale figures, and the limited number of statues I have. They'd be out there. And I might even have that set up as a streaming area also. So then that way people would be able to enjoy it with me. But yeah, I would fantasize about having that, but realistically, nah. There's no way I would even
Certainly not for
consider
the average.
that. I'd have to hit it big.
Oh yeah.
I'd have to hit it really big.
That's
And
some
then,
FU money like Shane from One Six Figure Focus clearly has.
and then I'd have to add on to the house because I don't want to move. So I would probably have to add another wing onto the house, just a collection wing. So I in order to do that, I would have to hit it big time.
Big time. One Six Figure Focus here in the chat with us. Mr. Shane, good to see you, buddy. I hope you're enjoying your time away from your streaming room. I hope it's okay for me to say this, but big congratulations to Shane. He's just proposed to his now new fiance. She has said yes. I don't know how she puts up with him, but we love you both. I'm so pleased for you guys. Very happy to see it. For those who don't know, whenever Shane and I chat with each other in streams, we often hashtag 800 because I streamed with Shane for about a year. We were on each other's streams and helping each other out and all the things. Before I realized that I wasn't subscribed to him, he was hitting 800. He was at 799 subscribers, and I didn't know I wasn't subscribed after a year of hanging out with him. So I was his 800th subscriber. So when I hit 800, he messaged me and was like, hey, I'm going to unsubscribe until you hit 799, and then I'm going to subscribe. And so thankfully I crossed that number. So now we're each other's 800th subscriber, which is you just love to see. But big congratulations to Shane for being engaged. That's awesome, man. Clearly there's a lot of love there, and I love to see that. One follow-up question with you, Classy.
Yeah.
If you were going to switch this life-size statue out for a different character, who would be your number one character as a life-size statue? And think about that.
Get rid of Deadpool or get rid of Wolverine?
Either one. You can get rid of them, but you would swap it for like your favorite character being in the life-size version. Okay. Who would that character be for you?
All right,
and I'll let you think about it for a second. Luis, what are your thoughts on Hot Toys giving us life-size statues? Obviously, this is for a certain subset of folks, but it's still pretty cool that they can give us this. For me, a criticism is that I don't actually think that really looks like Hugh Jackman under the cowl, especially at the life-size representation that it's at. I actually think it's not that good of a likeness. For the cost, I think that's wild. What are your thoughts on these statues? And same question for you. If you could swap out a life size here for your favorite, would it be Maul? Who would it be for you?
100%. Yes.
It would be Maul.
Yes. Great guess. I don't know how you could have guessed it, but 100%. I do love life size. I don't have any full life size statues, but I do have a couple busts. I stop at the bust because obviously it's a fraction of the cost. But if there was a company that made a life size, license, That's the biggest thing. Licensed mall, then that would be it. And I actually reached out to Regal Robot and asked them, because they do custom work too, and asked them what would a life-size mall be, and maybe even a bus. And they said, which was cool, and crushing at the same time. They said, well, the R&D to go to the Lucasfilm archives to look at the patterns and the sculpts and all this stuff would probably put you maybe in the $20,000 range. And
wow.
I said, wow, okay, well, I'm not quite there yet, but good to know, kind of sets
I like
the bar.
that you said yet. That's a good. I
One
like
day.
that. That's good.
Optimistic.
One day,
Optimistic,
yes,
yep.
one day. But yeah, I was actually kind of considering the Queen Studios full-size Bale Batman statue, because it comes with both portraits. And they, of course, locked it behind that paywall where they include the Bale cowl sculpt with just the Bale sculpt as the regular bust. So I plan on getting just the bust of Bruce Wayne. I would have loved the cowl, but you have to get the full statue for that. And I think that's like 13.5 or something.
Jesus.
So yeah, I mean, affordability, as you say, this is for these kind of elite collectors that just have money to burn, I feel. Or, you just only collect a handful of these and that's it, right? You have nothing else.
Well, and I mean, honestly, there are still collectors out there. Maybe the average collector can pull this off, right? If you've been collecting for 10 years, right? Like, I've got 64 figures now. While it feels like a huge collection for me and my level of nostalgia and space and all the things, I mean, I know collectors have some of them out there who have 200, 300, 400 figures, right? I mean, geez, if you shed 100 figures for your favorite life-size statue, suddenly
Right.
an average collector still could technically put this together. I mean, I was just looking at that Batmobile for $1,000, right? I mean, this is 13 Batmobiles, but still, it's like, if it's your favorite, I mean,
Yes.
you could make it happen. It's just wild. It's a
100%.
and a
Yeah.
half, right?
If Hot Toys does ever life-size Star Wars, I'd be, just screwed, essentially.
We'd all be screwed.
Yeah.
We'd all be screwed.
And I would happily sell all my Hot Toys 1/6 for like 1 or 2 life size. For now, I kind of stop at the half scale. You see like the Vader behind, and I have them all behind too.
Oh yeah. Yep.
Maul right there, and then Vader right there. But given the space, right? Space is a big issue, and as you said, if it's a character that you love and has maybe not the best, or this is the ultimate representation, which is what I always kind of go for. I want the best and the ultimate representation for a character that I love. Then I would shell this out. The one thing I don't like is it doesn't look mixed media to me. I think it doesn't look like fabric, or it could just be the pictures. They need to do the silicone for Wolverine's, mouth and his mask. It just
they didn't
looks
give him the
like
seamless arms either, or like the exposed arms, I should say.
Exactly.
Which is interesting.
Yeah, I mean, if you're going to be paying 10,000 plus, you have to nail it, and at least give maybe a couple more options. But it just doesn't look realistic for life size. I mean, I think the 1/6 scale has a better likeness than this full size.
Same. So let's talk about 1/6 scale then, because Deadpool has also popped up here in the 6 scale from Hot Toys. And this is now what people are saying is going to be the kind of their definitive Deadpool. And it's funny because people are saying that before we've even seen the film. Let's be honest, I'd be shocked if we didn't at least really like the movie, if not love the film. On the other hand, Deadpool has been available for collectors up till now. I did a this or that video recently on Deadpool 2 versus Deadpool 3, technically, because I was shocked at how similar the outfits are.
Yeah.
But there are definitely some pretty divergent like dissimilarities as well. Like there's different patterning on his shins and legs. He's got more of like, I want to call it like the choker strap right here on this version versus the old version that doesn't. I have seen a lot of people be like, well, he's a lot more cherry red, which I agree with when I watched the movie like trailers. But in terms of the figure, I've put them side by side a couple times, and go back to that this or that video if you haven't had a chance to watch it. I compared them there, and I didn't actually think that the difference in the red was enough of a difference to make that big of an impact. If you already had the Deadpool 2, do you need this one? Now, some of the things that I think are really positive about this new version is they have clearly changed the shape of the head slightly. It does look like the eye plates actually do sit in there a little bit more evenly and flat than my Deadpool 2. That's one thing that's always driven me nuts about that figure, is they always look like they're popping out just ever so slightly. But they've also created a seam at the neck on this figure versus the old figure that was seamless from the neck and head. I do think that that could mean that in these windows here that we don't know or yet to be revealed, I wonder if that could be a Ryan Reynolds head sculpt. Could it be something different? Hard to know exactly. But is this worth swapping a Deadpool 2 version out for? I'm not convinced yet. I think the downfall here is that you're going to have this window to put the order in, and you're ordering something before you fully know what is coming with it. And I've never really loved that. Hot Toys doesn't miss very often, but there's still the possibility that they could. And if they did miss, if you were unhappy with the accessories that are hidden or not to be revealed yet, you risk, losing an NRD if you've put one down, for example. So there's some risk there, but I also think, again, it's Deadpool. They're likely to not miss on this figure. I'm super on the fence, so maybe you guys can convince me why I should have both in my collection, or maybe sell my previous. Last thing I'll say here is that I would say this does still feel a little stripped down right now. For a Deadpool, I was expecting to get a lot more silly accessory, but like for the purpose of fun, like pure enjoyment. The Deadpool 2, when I got that character or figure in my collection, I kept him on my desk for about a year because he was one that I would just constantly change the poses, whether they were badass or naughty. Didn't matter. It was just fun. And he came with high heels. He came with a unicorn. He came with about the same amount of faceplates, about the same amount of hands. So again, not that much more exciting here, unless you just don't have this in the collection. So, Classy, I'll go to you first. With Deadpool Mania here, you talked about the statue, but you're not a statue guy, I get that. Is a 6-scale version of him something that you're bringing in? Or are you happy with maybe one that you've already got? I don't know what your collection looks like right now that way.
Well, let me go back to the statues because you asked me about switch out. And
Forgot, yes. Thank you.
yeah, if I were going to switch out, I would actually switch both of those figures for a Phoenix life size and a Storm life size. You give me a life size Phoenix or Storm,
You're there.
look.
You'd sell the collection.
I will be the first one to pick them up and throw them out the front door to get those two girls in. So okay, but back to this one. Yeah, I'm getting this Deadpool. I really do, because I'm trying to look at my Deadpool in the cabinet. In the trailers, his red does look like a different red. So which makes him a little bit more comic book accurate. Well, I kind of like the intense saturated colors. When they do that, it gives it more of a comic book feel, because nobody walks around in saturated colors like that. Regular people just don't do that, but in comic books they do, because the whole thing about comic books, these guys stand out. Their whole purpose is to, be out there. So I kind of like that. I hope they give us that dog pool, because that little mangy mutt looks so funny. I have a dog pool in my collection, but it's not a little scrappy one like that one. But I don't necessarily know that it's something that you would have to choose one or the other for. If, for example, this Deadpool 2, he does come with a lot of great accessories that just makes it fun. And this one coming out, I think is going to be, for me, something where since I can put Deadpool anywhere in my collection, I don't mind having a duplicate. Some people don't like duplicate figures. If I really like the figure and if I see enough of a difference, I don't mind having a duplicate in the collection. So I would choose both. For me, I'd choose this and that, and just enjoy the hell out of it. Just put him over there. I might even have him. Jump into Wonder Woman's arms, and she could carry him off. So just make him wacky. Let him really, crossover and jump into the DC universe and do some fun stuff with those guys. So yeah, I like them both. I don't think I would. This would be one where I would definitely want to have them both.
That makes sense. I would rather, I think, reserve myself for like a Lady Deadpool or another variant of Deadpool to come, because I'm sure we're going to see different variants of Deadpool in this film, and this could be one of the bigger lines, I'm sure, for a Hot Toys company. This is what I was talking about from the This or That video I did. I posted the blogger photos of both characters beside each other. Now again, different photos, different editing, all of the things. So it remains to be seen as to whether the Deadpool and Wolverine version is that much more cherry red. When I see these two blogger photos beside each other, I don't see that big of a difference in the color saturation. I think that they're actually closer than I was expecting. But this version also comes with a dog pool, which is pretty cool, and we don't know what character he's going to really play in the film other than being kind of cute and awesome. But Luis, what are your thoughts here on the Deadpool and Wolverine figure in relation to even the Deadpool 2? Is this something that you think, if people have Deadpool 2, they could justify having both, like Classy's saying, or is it one or the other for you? What are your thoughts?
So I never got any of the Deadpool figures. Again, just kind of Hot Toys MO, right? Once a new one comes out, generally they're gonna make another figure. I think this one definitely lacks the fun factor, like the deluxe. I mean, even I was tempted to pick up the deluxe some time ago, and then when this came out, it's like, ooh, the deluxe just offers more. There's just more fun factor, more displayability, I feel. Where this one wins to me is the proportion, the man in a suit type argument.
Great point.
Some of these you can take as stills from the movie, I feel like, or like, promotional shots. So I think that's where they really nailed it. But again, is that enough to buy a second one? And again, dependent, as Classy said, dependent if you're a huge fan of the character and the figure, then this makes sense. And I have multiple of some characters as well. But I think the deluxe overall is the better package. But I could see Hot Toys throwing an accessory in after next week, possibly revealing it. And if it is a portrait, then now you've got that. Well, I won't be getting the whole package, but I'll buy that head sculpt parted out, right? But I don't know if the head sculpt allows for that in the deluxe to be able to do that, because I know they're kind of changing up the adapters and whatnot, especially if it has the rolling eyes. But, I could just see them do that, right? They always throw in an accessory or maybe two that will help justify buying a whole nother figure despite you having the previous one.
See, for me, if it doesn't come with a head sculpt, I don't feel like I can really truly justify it to myself. We talked about priority at the beginning of the show today. There's so many cool things that are coming, and there's so many things that could be a surprise. We're going to talk about the kitbash Joker next. But to me, that Joker is a good example of, okay, we might just get shit we're not predicting it all in combination with all of the things that we are predicting and desiring to have in the collection. So I don't know why I would need two Deadpools unless, again, it came with something that the previous versions just truly did not come with. You could argue that's the dog pool maybe in this release, but I don't think dog pool's enough. I haven't seen the movie yet, so I'm not connected to dog pool enough yet. I thought the unicorn was fun, but even that accessory, he stands beside my current Deadpool 2 figure. But like Honest Hansel was saying here, I have the Deadpool 2, but the Jackman Wolverine coming, so now I want this one. I'm the opposite. I think my Deadpool 2 version beside Wolverine will look fantastic. And to most people, most people, including myself, even me being a huge Deadpool fan, unless I put them side by side, I have a very, very hard time differentiating the two. So I think that I could save my dollars. If it's the head sculpt that's hidden here, that might be the differentiator for me. But it remains to be seen. I'd love to hear from you guys here in the chat, as well as everybody watching on replay. Is it this? Is it that? Is it both? Why? Why not? Let me know in the comments. I'll be sure to respond to you guys, because that's one that I'm still not even convinced myself yet. I think that I know what I want to do, but I'm not totally convinced.
Ben,
let's look at.
Are you trying to tell me that you want me to buy two, so that when you don't get it, you can ask me to sell you my spare? Is that what you're trying to get me to do?
Oh, this or that. I'll take it. Yes. Or maybe I could just have it. That'd be so nice of you, Classy. Thank you so much. Let's move on, because I want to look at probably the most kit bash I've seen in a really long time from Hot Toys. We're looking at here the Imposter Joker, the Heath Ledger version or variant. And I definitely have had some thoughts on this figure over the course of the week. My very first thought when I saw this was, why? Why? What the hell? What is this? Why did they do this? This is not from any movie scene. Unlike the Imposter Joker that we've seen from the Suicide Squad, where we'd actually seen at least some teased images or teased scenes of that suit, we never got that with Heath Ledger's Joker. But then I went, okay, but let's sit back. Let's sit back as a collector. Let's sit back as somebody who appreciates cool art.
Right.
I think the paint job is amazing. It does look really, really good. And this is the first chance we're getting to see kind of what I actually think might be the artisan final version of the sculpt that we're going to see coming with the Artisan Joker that's being released here pretty soon. We saw the Artisan Joker on the Coming Soon slide recently from Hot Toys. I think that they're pretty much done with that figure. I think we're going to start seeing that get sent out to people pretty soon. So I'm curious if this head sculpt that we're looking at on this figure is not actually a prototype, but maybe actually a final of the Artisan. Which, if that's the case, I gotta say, I was actually kind of critical of the original Artisan sculpt. I thought the hair was too bushy. I didn't think it was quite dialed in to the Heath Ledger likeness. I actually think this looks really good. The head sculpt, the hair is a little bit more matted. He's got less hair. It's not so big and frizzy. It looks a little more greasy. But, why? Once again, why? This is a recreation using clearly the DX19 body. I'd say clearly because of the elbow pads. It looks exactly like the DX19 body. Did they just have too many of those bodies, which is why we've seen a blue, that blue Bailman and this version now? All of the accessories are reuse. The base that he's standing on is reuse, and it's likely not coming with those lit up lights that the old DX11 and DX12 used to have. This is still the stripped down, battery compartment removed base. It's so much of a kit bash that I'm like a little surprised people weren't a little bit more annoyed by it rather than being like, objectively, it's cool. The other piece here, and I don't want to steal your point, Luis, because I know you kind of touched on this earlier, but I do think that this diminishes the Artisan Joker that's coming slightly. I think it takes away from the Artisan line. Because what this tells me is that Hot Toys' new DX is now just called Artisan. If they want it to be more expensive and have rooted hair, it's going to be Artisan. But I've seen people already saying that if they get this figure because they missed out on the limited nature of the Artisan one, that they could technically just take this sculpt probably and just stick it on a more standard body of the Joker, and Bob's your uncle, I basically have an Artisan figure in my collection. So is it diluting the limited nature of that Artisan Joker that's on the way? And who is this for? Because I'm a huge Dark Knight fan, but even I'm like, no, it's a no from me. I think I wish they'd at least, if they were going to give us this, given us then also the Bale cowl sculpt with the Joker mouth underneath. Because if you think back to the original promotions of The Dark Knight and you see the Heath Ledger smile through frosted glass and stuff like that stands out so much, and seeing him with a cowl on with that mouthpiece sticking out, I think could have been really special, similar to what they did with the Suicide Squad version. But that's a lot of thoughts. I want to leave some meat on the bone here. Luis, I'll go to you first, buddy. What are your thoughts here on this? What's the why? What's the reason they've given us this? Maybe it's just money, but what's your reasoning?
Yeah, I mean, all great points, Ben. I think obviously hitting the nail on the head. Yeah, I think it comes down to the profitability. Um, I think obviously the Artisan Joker, that's their first artisan, their first kind of you know figure in that line that is the cream of the crop, right? It used to be the DX, now it's the Artisan, and maybe they got it down to a science where they've rooted all these heads, and I'm hoping that is an actual production piece, given that it's so close to release, that rather than increase the edition size, that now they're just throwing it onto another exclusive, right? So not to hurt the Artisan pre-orders already and the people that lock that in, and increasing the edition size, which of course everybody who didn't score one would like that, but now it offers an opportunity to throw that head onto this figure, still make it an exclusive, make that FOMO, and just because we can, it could just be one of those things where they may be trying to compete with other makers that are trying to get into the 1/6 scale and start with a J, right? But it's just Hot Toys, maybe their concept of why are we doing it, because we can, without pissing off the Artisan pre-orders and increasing that edition size. But it does take away, to me personally, who does have the Artisan on order, it does kind of take away a little bit of that exclusivity, right? Depending on the price and depending on what some of the aftermarket prices are going for the actual Artisan head sculpt, could it be more cost effective to order this, swap the head, and then pop it on the sculpted version, right? Now you have both head sculpts. But the aftermarket price, I feel, will determine that. But if you can secure this for that aspect, then you could always probably turn around and sell it, I would assume, possibly for retail. But I just don't see the need for this personally, unless you're that much of a mega fan where you have to have every variant of Ledger Joker. But the coolest thing, other than the paint, which looks great, and they've gotten way better with painting applications and weathering and whatnot, I do like the grenades on the cape.
Yeah,
that was one of the things that actually popped out a lot to me the most.
True.
But yeah, I just don't personally see me getting this. But for those who missed out on the official Joker Artisan, this could be a good alternative, and then you still got the sculpted version that you could get and just pop on that head. But I think the price on this will be key.
Well, and I think they're still only looking at doing 3,000 of this one, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah. So that still does keep it pretty limited, which
for sure
I do think adds to the value of this release in and of itself. Even if you're not getting it to swap head sculpts or anything like that, I still think that there is certainly that collector appeal, right? That limited nature. But at the same time, you mentioned kind of the aesthetic of it and how it looks. Yeah, I agree with all of those points. The variant aspect of it, it's like, if you need to have every variant of the Joker, great. This doesn't ever feel like it was a variant of the Joker, though. This just feels like something that Hot Toys kind of went into their warehouse and went, we can use all 10 of those accessories and that base and this body and that head, and holy shit, people are going to spend their money on this bad boy. And it feels more easy than it does creative. Which sucks, because I do think that the artists who have worked on this clearly have put some love and attention and time into it too. So I don't want to diminish anybody's hard work, but it does feel like the easy aspect, especially when we've seen other 2.0s, a lot of 2.0s coming from the Dark Knight line, but still missing some pretty notable ones. We don't have a 2.0 of Gordon and Blake in the Bat Signal yet, or just Gordon in SWAT vest. We don't have a 2.0 of Scarecrow yet. We never got a Ra's al Ghul figure yet with Liam Neeson. Yeah, I have to think about that. With Liam Neeson's likeness, we never got that. So what about some of those characters? Are we still going to get 2.0s of those? Are we waiting? Is this line done now? Even the Demon Batman, we never got one of those again. Like, they're either going to do it all or they're not, and there's just so many question marks. And again, it comes down to, are they just giving it to us this year because there's less comic book film content, less Star Wars content right now that people like, so here, let's go back to Joker. I think more people would have been excited to see a Ra's al Ghul, because a lot of people already have a Dark Knight line in their collection. Let's give them something they've never seen before, instead of this that might feel like people are upset about. Potentially. So it kind of remains to be seen, I guess. What about you, Classy, in terms of them revisiting the Joker here, or such a crazy, unique-looking version of the Joker? Was this one that stood out to you this week?
It's different. It's not something I would really necessarily go for. I think because, I know they have some of the different comic book things, like the Joker who laughs and stuff, because I guess he's like that amalgamation of kind of like creepy Batman with the Joker face or whatever. But it does kind of feel a little bit thrown together. It's not bad looking, don't get me wrong. I think that the head sculpt looks really cool, and but I don't think that this was necessary. If they were going to really put something together, why not keep the head sculpt and make a Nurse Joker and make that a limited edition? I think that would have been something I think people would have clamored to, because a lot of people have been wanting a Nurse Joker, and to have one with rooted hair, that would have been pretty cool.
Now, I have seen kind of within the community people saying that they saw John from Inart on a podcast, and I don't know which podcast it was. I can't show that out, but that apparently he had said that the Nurse Joker is kind of never going to be made. That it sounds like that character, for whatever reason, the licensee has been like, no, not allowed. WB here, actually here, 91 Pulp saying here, I've read that WB won't allow anyone to make Nurse Joker. It remains to be seen. I think that's definitely the theory. I'd be curious to see if that's actually like real news, not to take away from you, 91 Pulp, by any stretch, but like, has that actually been confirmed? I'd love to see that, because think about it, like, we've seen other characters in the last little while be made that people are like, oh, I never thought we'd see that actor allow their likeness ever again. And then boom, Harrison Ford is a great example. A Han Solo. How many years have we been like, oh, they're never going to make another Han Solo because Harrison Ford just won't let it happen. And then boom, all of a sudden we got a new Indiana Jones potentially coming, the old version, and as I said, the young Han Solo, right? And Jack Nicholson's another one. We're getting that '89 Batman, hopefully freaking any day now, from Hot Toys. What about a 2.0 Jack Nicholson Joker? I've seen a lot of people say, oh no, Jack he's tough with his likeness rights. We'll probably never see it. That original version's the only one we'll ever get. Wouldn't still surprise me if that still came down the pipeline. I wonder if there's an element of, the Joker in that scene is cross-dressing slightly as a woman. I don't know why that would make a difference, but I'd be curious if that's part of it. Also, the fact that it's a hospital, right? Kind of a sensitive subject. Terrorism in a hospital is like, touch base. Like, there's some aspects to there that might be controversial.
Or do this. All right, you have a Jake Gyllenhaal head sculpt from Mysterio. You've got this one. Why not put him in cowboy outfits and have Brokeback Joker,
Brokeback Mountain,
and Brokeback Mysterio?
Hashtag Brokeback Joker.
Bestseller right there.
Let's start the trend. That's amazing, buddy. We got Mr. Musashi here. What's up, boy? Ben and crew. Good to see you, buddy. Thanks for popping through. That's for sure. Oh my God, Brokeback Joker. That's wild. You guys killing me on Let's Get Nuts. I'd love to see it. Guys, we still have 40 people watching. Let us know what your thoughts are on Joker here. Put a thumbs up in the chat if you're thinking about getting this guy, or maybe a sad face if this is one you're just choosing to skip because you just don't need it. Like me, I just don't feel like I need this one. But I will be really curious when people start getting their Artisan Joker in hand over the next couple weeks here, I'm sure. Hopefully anyways, when it's released. I'll be curious to see how good it comes out, because I do have my Inart Joker sitting behind me, And while those are certainly an improvement over my previous DX11 version, I did not pre-order the Hot Toys version of Joker because I was like, I don't know if I need it. I have notoriously pre-ordered the J&D Joker. Remains to be seen whether I'm going to keep that pre-order or not because it's so wildly, stupidly expensive that it still doesn't even make sense to myself. And I would never encourage anybody else to spend that kind of money on a figure. I'm still kind of curious to see how that one's going to turn out. But if this one comes out as good as some of these photos are showing it to be, I actually think this might be, as of right now anyways, the best likeness for Heath Ledger's Joker. So I'll be curious to see how that comes out.
And it strangely be, if it's of a limited nature, it could strangely be a sleeper. It could be something that
Could
people
definitely be a
clamor to because they're like, wow, this is kind of,
100%.
especially if someone gets it in hand and starts really talking it up. I mean, it could really be
Absolutely.
one of those grails that people start seeking.
Absolutely. Well, and I would have even thought that about the Jared Leto one, though, previously, because that was an exclusive back in the day as well. But that one still sits in my local comic book shop. Nobody buys it, and I've thought about buying it a couple times, and I've been like, no, I don't need it. I don't need it. Even the Suicide, I think it's the Suicide Squad, but it's like an asylum version of his Joker, Jared Leto's Joker, where he's actually in a jacket. The one cool thing about that figure that I just literally realized the other day when I was looking at it again was that it's got seamless ankles. He's got bare feet sticking out the bottom and seamless ankles. And I'm like, man, that's something that is actually really cool collectible wise.
Well, it's
once
kind
again,
of a slip-on,
just
though.
sits there.
Yeah, it's like
Yes.
it's like a boot, but it's a foot.
Is it? I didn't know that.
Yeah,
See,
yeah,
like
because
it-
I
okay.
actually had that one,
You had that
and yeah, it's a slip-on
Okay.
bare foot that goes over the. I think there's like a small little tiny foot that you slip on underneath it, and it slips on like a boot, and so then that way he gets to have his bare feet.
It looked really cool. Even
Yeah, it
still.
does,
But this version of the Imposter Joker seems to be findable still. So yeah, it'll be curious to see, like you said, if this becomes a sleeper or not for sure. Now I'll be real quick on this one because I got to admit I'm not a huge Clone Wars guy. I'm just not. I know that this version of this character does come from a video game from I want to say 15, 20 years ago. I'm pretty sure I had that game back on the original Xbox. But I still don't truly remember this character, so I don't want to hype it up. I don't want to be too excited about it, because this is definitely one that I'll skip. The one thing that I have heard, though, is that this is a limited item, which to me doesn't totally make sense for any clones. The reason I say that is because it seems to me like clones are relatively cheap to produce. So I don't understand why a company like Hot Toys wouldn't have more of a mass quantity of these types of characters in their collections or in their stock availability. Now, obviously, you're not going to want multiple Commander Scorches because there's probably only one Commander Scorch, very specifically. But if you're trying to collect a line, maybe kind of the battalion of these folks, and you can't get one of them because you just missed the limited window, does that even then mean that any of the others that possibly come down the line you're going to chase? Are they shooting themselves in the foot by making something like this limited? I'm not an expert on these characters specifically. Luis, do you have any thoughts on this guy, Commander Scorch, and them making him limited?
Yeah, I actually just picked up the Imperial Commander, and it's almost the same thing. Obviously, they made him bulkier as he should be from the games. I bring this back to 000, and I think the other one, BT1. If you scored 000, then you'll kind of need BT1, I feel like. And BT1 is an open edition regular release, whereas 000 was the exclusive, right? So I really didn't have a need for either, but the sucker in me and the exclusivity that I always chase, I said, hey, I'll try it. 000 actually looks great, by the way. But I scored, and now I kind of have to pair it up. So I feel like having the exclusive regular commander and then getting Scorch, kind of a pair. And I see that, like the sequel trilogy, unfortunately, those, armored troopers really never took off, and they made too many, and they were giving those away at one point pretty much from Sideshow with an order. So I think if you just comes down to people want what they can't have, and this may not be a character that you connected with, or many haven't connected with, that they would just pay retail for. But if you make it exclusive, then now you've got more people that are willing to get it because they may not make more down the road, or they may not ever make it. So you do that whole FOMO thing where, well, I have to have it because this could be the only chance, right? Whereas if it's an open edition, it'll just get discounted down the road. And I think what they're learning with like Crosshair, with most of the Bad Batch, they made a big run, and then with Crosshair, they cut that run, and then you get to Wrecker and
He's a chase.
Tech, and now Crosshair I think is $1,000 figure, and it's insane. Yeah, I got hooked up thanks to Philly at Figurecraft, and I think this is now the new norm for clones, because it tests the water of what's too many clones, right? And there's army builders that will get this, of course, but it comes down to, it's a sure bet that they'll probably sell more clone variants if they do make it unexclusive.
Well thought. Well said. Well said. Because I agree with that. Even Kenny Lang here saying, I think they slap the exclusivity tag on anything that they don't have a lot of, hoping that or knowing that FOMO will likely trigger. I do think that too. I talk a lot about sales conditioning, even in my job when I'm training my sales team. Conditioning is one of those things that I think Hot Toys has been doing for many years, both in the price point, but also in the exclusivity or the limited side. There was a time where $245 was kind of the standard price for a figure, and then that creeped up to $285, and people were like thinking that was just absolutely wild pricing. But then we started seeing figures get into the 320 range to 345 range. So then we were like, okay, that's insane. But then when they went back to 285, people were like, oh, that's not bad. Okay, I can justify that, right? And they kind of positioned it that way. We talked earlier about the FOMO, like you mentioned here, but just because this is exclusive doesn't also mean that they can't make it again in the future. These are not numbered items. And so one of the recent exclusives that bit me in the butt was the Shadow Trooper. I bought that Shadow Trooper years ago. I mean, that thing was hitting like $800 on the secondary market. And then, what was it, last month, the Shadow Trooper got reissued. And that was an exclusive figure, but it got reissued. And when I was butthurt about it, our good buddy Eddie Money Mendez was like, well, do you not know what exclusive means? Like, just because it's exclusive doesn't mean that it's never going to come back. Don't let that burn you. And so also don't let that necessarily drive your buying choices, because if you're only buying because of fear, and then something like this comes out again, or they do a reissue of Crosshair because Hot Toys likes money and they don't want secondary market people to make the money. They want to make the money. All they have to do is give you that exclusive figure again with just one additional accessory, call it a different figure release altogether, and Bob's your uncle. Boom, he's back. So I'm not saying don't buy it. I'm not saying buy it either, though, because on the other, it just depends on how badly you need it in the collection. But I think, Lewis, you made some really good points of the collection, of the batch, having the army builders, but also, knowing that there is that chance that they never return to this one. I think for the figures that are cheap to make, we'll likely see returns of those again in the future. And so, yeah, for me, I thought it was silly that they made this one exclusive at this point, because I do think that they pigeonhole themselves a little on future teammates, if that was the case. But we will find out. Now, Classy, I know you're a big Guardians of the Galaxy fan. Groot from Guardians of the Galaxy 3 is now been released. I think the photos look fantastic for this figure. I think the biggest criticism that I have of the entire Guardians 3 line at this point is that they have not given us Drax yet. I think that's wild. They teased him, but they never gave us a pre-order window for Drax. So at this point, Guardians 3 is an incomplete team. We also don't have Mantis in the Team Suit variant version, but you could at least put your new Mantis in with them, I guess, if you wanted, and just say, I guess she didn't put her outfit on that day. It's an incomplete line at this point. but I know Groot is a big favorite for people, and I know that you are a Guardians guy. What are your thoughts on now seeing these pre-order photos come out, or I should say these not pre-order photos, but these blogger photos of the final version of Groot here? What are your thoughts?
They look okay. I'm not a super big fan on this Groot. I had originally ordered it, but then I canceled it because when I was setting up my Guardians display, I had an original Groot, and I've got Teen Groot, and I've got Baby Groot, and Muscle Groot. I don't know. I don't have as strong of a connection to that particular version of him. So, but the photos look great, but I don't feel like I need this particular one. So but yeah, they've done a good job with the photographs. I'm still waiting on my I Am Groot to come out, because that's the one I did purchase because I thought he was nice and fun. But yeah, I mean it's a good looking figure. The Drax though, they really do need to don't tease us with the entire team and then not put them out. And see, I only need that Drax because I need a Drax. I don't care that he's not the bare-chested one with the tattoos.
Sure.
I just want Drax in my. I don't even want all of them wearing the same team uniform. I like the uniqueness of them all wearing something different. So once I get Drax, I feel like I have the complete team. I mean, I even have I was about to call him Golden Boy, but you know who I'm talking about, Adam Warlock. I have the third party Adam Warlock, which turned out really, really good. So he's in the cabinet right now as part of my Guardians team, but I don't have a Drax.
I think that actor who plays Warlock is now one of the girlfriend's hall passes. You know, when they talk about hall passes, they're like, he's had one of the best glow ups I've ever seen. He's now a new hall pass for me.
Well, no,
like, fair.
If that's gonna be her hall pass, you have to qualify that and say, yeah, but you can only have him as he was in We Are the Millers.
That's right. Oh my God,
give her that version.
Oh God, that started. Oh my God, that reminds me that We Are the Millers. So totally sidetracked thought, but that started a huge fight with a girlfriend of mine back in the day. We went to the drive-in to see that movie, and there's a scene where Jennifer Aniston is coming down the stairs, and she's getting wet from like a sprinkler system, so she's kind of slowly, unrobing herself. And apparently, I watched that scene for just a little bit too long before diverting my eyes. And wow, was I in trouble for that. So now every time I think of We Are the Millers, that's the only thing. Fighting at the drive-in. You hate to see it. That person's long gone now. So, you know, for good reasons. But yeah, no.
Yeah, it was meant to be.
Yeah, it was meant to be. I'll never collect from that film, though, that's for sure. Not good nostalgia. But great thoughts here on Groot here. I do think Drax is absolutely needed, but I do think that they should give us actually classy a holiday version of him. So because they gave us the holiday mantis, I think if they gave us a holiday version of Drax where he's got his Christmas sweater, but that maybe you could take the sweater off to reveal then the tattooed body underneath, you could then have him either next to your holiday mantis or as part of kind of the original line of Guardians, which I think could be really cool. Be nice. Yeah. Because when seeing photos of the new version of Mantis in next to that pretty old school version of Drax now, the quality separation I think is actually too broad. I think he looks now like an older school toy as opposed to kind of a real life rendition of that person in the makeup and character, which is sad because I mean I think for a lot of us Drax is one of the coolest ones. Avengers Assemble says we need Yondu 2.0. I mean original Yondu was pretty amazing. I mean I think the only reason I'd want a 2.0 at this point is because I still can't afford to get the original one anymore on the secondary.
I have Yondu, and I looked up his price, and I tell you what, the second market value on him is still way up. I was like, man, I should have bought two of them.
Should have bought two.
Then I have one to sell.
Last but certainly not least, let's talk about some Harry Potter wars, because Inart has given us their version of Harry Potter, Hermione, and Ron now in terms of the prototypes that have gone up for their pre-orders. I did recently see a Harry Potter unboxing on the Inart official channel, which I thought was interesting to watch. I thought the packaging looked pretty good. I think the figure is going to look pretty good in the collection. To the right, the middle photo here, we're looking at J&D's representation of Harry Potter, which made me actually laugh out loud when I saw it, because I thought he looked like a weird little old man, kind of. What do people have been calling him? Perry Hotter, as opposed to Harry Potter. Like, like just like, oh my god, I don't totally see it. But then of course a picture of him, or Daniel Radcliffe, anyways, as Harry Potter from the Philosopher's Stone or Sorcerer's Stone, I think, depending on which country you're in. I can't remember exactly how that goes, but either way, you see all three representations on the screen here. Curious for you guys, what is the desire to chase the Harry Potter line for these companies at this point? Because when I talk to most collectors, most people will say, yeah, I like Harry Potter, I think it's pretty cool, but I don't know if I'd actually want to like collect it. And when we're looking at the three from Inart, I think we talked about this last time on the show, you know, you're looking at almost a $2,000 line just for the three Inart versions. And J&D doesn't seem like they're trending any cheaper really at this point. Mm-hmm. So what collectible do you go with? Is Harry Potter even really that relevant to the collector community? Or is it just kind of a cheaper license? There's a lot of questions that I have about it. But in terms of Harry Potter Wars, who is getting the win for you guys at this point, at least from what we're seeing from the photos? One quick shout out. We got 1/6 scale man Lael in the channel with us here. Ben Thomas is the sexiest guy on YouTube. I appreciate you, good sir. I've seen your beard and I would disagree with your perspective on me, but let's congratulate Lael too, because the man just hit 7K subscribers, which in my opinion is long overdue. I've been watching 1/6 scale man since you started, dude. I remember you were getting like, still like, it was back when you first started your show. I think it was actually the Ock suit Spider-Man was the very first video I ever watched of yours. It was like an unboxing of him. And then I saw you, of course, on some of the live streams, and thought your personality was amazing. And you've grown so tremendously. So, dude, congratulations. I hope you hit 100K, man. I'm rooting for you all the way. Good dude out there and positive voice in the community. But yes, guys, what are your thoughts here on Harry Potter? Classy, I'll go to you first, buddy. Who wins in the Harry Potter war right now for you between the two companies?
Clearly Inart. I mean, this G&D nonsense. I just Inart. I don't think I have any other words to say. A picture's worth 1,000 of my words. So yeah, I have to give it to Inart.
Absolutely. What about you, Louis? Is this something that you've considered putting in the collection? I don't think we've chatted about this Inart versions or Harry Potter line yet. Do you have a thought or take on kind of the appeal to collectors for Harry Potter? Like, why is this coming out now?
I'm not a big Harry Potter fan, not just because I'm not a fan, just I guess I'm not a big a fan to have any merch. I think the license has got to be dirt cheap, that's really got to be it. I mean, I think, was it Star Ace that had the line before? Mm-hmm. And now it's Inart, now it's J&D. I think it's got to be cheap enough to where, anybody can get it, I feel like, and then it's a matter of who can do it better. I think J&D has more of the realism, which is what they're known for, not so much the capturing the likeness, but of these two photos next to each other, the Inart looks more like a young Daniel Radcliffe, versus the J&D just looks more of like a caricature. So if they can keep the costs relatively the same, then it'll just be a matter of quality control. And I know Inart hasn't been the best following their prototypes. But I don't know. I know J&D's doing two lines now, I think, with Harry Potter being the first, where it's the Kojin Works and then the Kojin Works Light or something like that. So I don't know if this is their light version, more cost savvy, versus Inart's could be, standard top of the line, but we'll see. Either way, it's nothing that I'm gonna lose sleep over. I'm not gonna get any, but if I had to pick right now which of the two, I would go with Inart. So I'm hoping that they price it out right to keep those collectors that are easily all for Harry Potter, like I am for Star Wars, but I just don't
Right.
personally see that huge investment. It's got to be just a cheap license when it all comes down to it.
I think it must be as well. And I've seen some of the criticism from the community, like, why is J&D copying Inart? I don't think that they are. I think that the creative process is really long. I think getting licenses approved takes a while. I think that these folks probably started the creative process around the same time, maybe slightly later, not necessarily knowing that the competition was working on the same thing. I know, WB, for example, is notorious for tossing out licenses to everybody and making the same characters. So, like, it doesn't surprise me that two companies would get the same license at the same time by any stretch. It's too bad that these companies can't work together a little bit more as opposed to being in competition with each other. Because, if there was wind out there that Harry and Hermione and Ron were already coming, then why not give us, a Hagrid or some of the other teachers? Right. I even said, maybe even a different Harry Potter film, because there's some great ones, right? Later representation of the characters, older representation of the characters. For the people who say, I don't want to collect kids, fine, that's okay. Right. Then here, take the more adult versions of Harry, Ron, and Hermione. Or if you really want to, feature that seamless, like, silicone technology that they keep hyping up to be so great, why not do a Voldemort from one of the later films, right? Like, that could be a perfect representation of what that looks like, that silicone on the head sculpt thing. But it seems like a miss to kind of just copy and paste and feel like they're not really changing. So it's like, well, this or that, but neither of them are so appealing, especially at their price point, that I feel like it tips people over the edge. I've liked the Harry Potter films, but I'm like you, Louise. I don't feel like I really need to collect from it at this point.
Yeah.
I mean, I would have considered Inart's line, because like the Harry and the Ron, I would probably consider getting the sculpted version of the hair, and then just get the Hermione, who will be, of course, more expensive. But it's, I don't know, it's still a little bit too much, because I have to admit, the accessories, the diorama, all of that, just adds to that Inart figure. But it's just a little cost prohibitive for figures that I have enjoyed in the past. But if I'm having to curate and decide what comes in, this is not a necessity. Now, this could open the door for people who are non-6 scale collectors, but are big Harry Potter heads. Also, that could open up doors for them. And I think in this one, if they're not collecting, other figures, that could be the thing that gets them in purchasing these figures. So, so it's possible that there are other avenues for these figures if the 1/6 scale community doesn't really clamor to it, because they don't want to either collect kids or they feel it's too cost prohibitive. Believe me, there are Potter fans out there who have the disposable income, and if they found out about this, then they would definitely start buying it up.
That's a great point, because I mean, even some of the Legends figures that we've seen recently from some of the video games, where they wouldn't necessarily resonate with me. If some of those Apex Legends games are some of your favorite games of all time, you might be a gamer who just wants to collect like a figure representation of one of your favorite characters, even if you don't intend to have a 6 scale collection. Clinton Martin asks a really cool question here as well, a great question. Do you think they're doing the same 3 so that they can show their superiority between the figures? My answer to that is no. And I think for the reason that we talk about a lot is art is subjective. And I don't think that a direct comparison necessarily determines or shows superiority. When I think about superiority between companies, I think of all facets of the company. So I don't just think about the product that they're making, but I also think about the service, how they are with the community. Do they take feedback? All of those things. And I've already seen that Inart, while they definitely have some faults, especially with how quickly they seem to be getting figures in collectors' hands, because I'm still waiting on my Inart Batman. I'm still waiting on it. Like, where the hell is that figure at this point? They've still shown that they've got great quality, and they still show up to people's live streams. They still have communication. They still take feedback. J&D on the 6-scale realm has seemed like they've been very standoffish so far. They're unwilling to join streams. I've sent them invitations and got rejected immediately. Like, and I'm no big YouTuber by any stretch, but still trying to give them a platform. Come and talk about your figure. Why is your Harry Potter better than Inart? Like, where's the communication? Like, I don't think by copying and pasting the same characters it shows superiority at all. If anything, I feel like it actually shows lack of creativity, especially if they're not going to really highlight why they're better. The price point doesn't make a difference, and there are definitely J&D super fans. There's definitely Inart super fans, but that's not enough of a reason, in my opinion, to do this. As I said, why not work together? A lot of these figures come from some of the same places in the world. Why not combine forces a little bit and say, we're going to try and take all of the collector money out there. So if you're doing a Harry Potter, then we're going to do a Hagrid, and like work that way and make it so that we have intermixed collections from all companies, instead of just being like, no, one or the other. Because for Harry Potter here, for example, if I were to put one of these in my collection, I'm not going to buy the other one. I'm only going to buy one version. And so if Inart is what's already in my collection, I'm going to gravitate Inart. If you have J&D statues, you might gravitate J&D if you're thinking about 6-scale. But you're probably not going to buy both. Do you guys have any different answer for Clinton there as to whether you think that that's kind of a show of superiority or not?
Luis?
No, I mean, I think, for the most part, they have the licenses. They're just, maybe one movie's harder to get than the other, and they're just, unfortunately, coincidentally doing it at the same time. I mean, I think we know who would win in terms of pricing, Inart versus J&D, who would obviously gravitate more. So I don't think that competition would make sense for them. It's just a matter of timing, right? And more competition, more options is always better for us as collectors. And it just comes down to preference. So I think it's just timing, happen to be that they're working on the same thing, just like Inart and J&D with the Joker, right? And then the Bruce Wayne and so on and so forth. So I will say at Comic-Con, me and some of the guys are going to an Inart event next Friday. So we should hopefully get some news late Friday night as to what they'll be previewing. Excited for that. So,
Hell yeah.
I'm sure you guys will know more Friday night or into the weekend. So big stuff coming out next week for sure.
Stay tuned.
Yes.
But yeah, for J&D, this is my thoughts for them.
It's a bold strategy, Cotton. Let's see if it pays off for him.
Guys,
Yes.
that is the show for today, of course. I wanted to highlight here, if you have thought about becoming one of the Tough Nut crew members, I saw Evil Sneaker mentioning it earlier today in terms of emojis and badges. These are our badges for our members right now. A lot of you guys are now in that 6 to 12 month range for the Live Long and Nut badge. And then I'll be curious to see who gets to that Terminator badge there pretty soon. A couple of you are getting pretty darn close now. But these are our badges, are different membership levels. If you're interested, the link is in the chat there for you guys to become one of our Tough Nut members. These are our emojis for now. We got the nut button, hit the nut button. We got some Adventure Time in there. We've got the Nut Buster logo, as well as some Jumbo, Happy Nuts, and all of the other things there. So any of these emojis you guys can plug in.
Why does Finn have a camel toe?
Don't worry about it, okay? He's a nut. He's a nut jammed into some shorts, okay? Don't worry about it. We all have a bit of a camel toe in that situation. But shout out to Dean the Dream Martin over on Collecting Weekly, who helps me make these. If as channel members especially, I do want to hear your feedback. If you guys have any designs that you'd like to see for emojis on the channel for the membership there, or even maybe future badges, let me know. And if Dean can make it, maybe we can make it happen. To shout out the Tough Nut crew, we got Alvin J, Collecting Weekly, Money Mendez, 6-Scale Mafia, Katera, Feezy's Figures King Dingling, Sith Scale Collector, Paul Schreiber, The Batman, The Movie Kin, 1/6 Figure Focus, SpongeBob Square Balls, Rogue One Photography, Peter Cass, Ryan Smith, Collector Joey, Sam Gist, 14 Wellington, Jose G. Hernandez, 12-inch Moose Dream Collection, Obsession, Blurred Dad Life, Danny Spotchka, Rachel Miller, Honest Hansel, Action in the Box, Figurecraft, Neilerific, Action Figure Academy, X-Men Supreme, Domaton, Kenneth Jacobson, Valkyrie Magnus, Adrian Cervantes, Alex Serrato, Christopher Belzano, and of course, Evil Sneaker as of today. We got the man. We got him. We got him in the crew, guys. We love to see it. Mr. Classy, is there anything coming up for you, buddy, this week that collectors can find you on other channels or anything going on in your space?
Well, Wednesday nights, of course, I'll be on After Dark in CW. I will be, this Thursday will be the Small Talk, so I won't be on there, but the following week, we will be coming back with one of my movie choices for the CW movie night, and I think this one we're covering is going to be Hairspray.
Ooh, all right. Cool. Well, tune in for that, guys. I know that channel's been picking up like crazy. Collecting Weekly overall has been doing wonderful between their long form content and now their short content. But definitely go over and see the movie night with Classy and Chris. We've had Chris here on the show before on Let's Get Nuts. Always an awesome dude. Lots of perspective as well. But yeah, I'll be curious to see what you guys have to say about Hairspray. It's been a while since I've seen it. In fact, I got to start doing what I was doing for Movie of the Week on Collecting Weekly. I need to start watching the movie before I tune into the show so I can have a bit more.
But
more
we're doing the '88 version. We're not doing the musical.
Okay.
We're doing John Waters' original film.
Okay, good to know. Classy, thank you for being here as always, buddy. I love you. Thanks for always being here to get nuts with us on Sundays.
Absolutely.
Luis, Pop Culture Relics, once again, buddy, thanks for being here to join us again today. Great show. Really love your take, and your collection still blows me away every time. Every time I pull you up on my bigger screen, I see something else in the background that I didn't spot before. But dude, anything coming up for you? Anything that other collectors or other or we can see on in terms of other shows?
Appreciate you having me as always, man. Great words there. Thank you. I'm a bit of a lurker. I mean, honestly, I just love this stuff and love hearing people's thoughts and opinions and, catching streams when I can. As I always say, if anybody wants me on, I'm happy to give my takes and thoughts on whatever you guys are discussing, right? So thank you for that. Big week. As I mentioned, we got Comic-Con next week. So I'm sure we'll get a lot of information on that. Super excited to hang out with some of the guys that we had at CaliCon and Figurecraft as well. So Loki's going to be there, Mario, Jose. I mean, it's just, feels like a little reunion. So yeah, stoked about that. D23, I feel like we're going to get a lot of information, especially for the future of Disney, Star Wars mainly. That's coming up second weekend of August. So I'm excited for that. Of course, they're going to have, I'm hoping, Hot Toys exclusives there. So, I'll be taking photos and hopefully doing an unboxing on that. But, it's going to be a jam-packed next couple weekends. And I shout out to Philly at Figurecraft. We'll hopefully be doing a collection tour of my room here shortly. But other than that, I'm just going to be lurking as always in the back. And as I said, if anybody has extra space and wants another face in their stream, I'm more than happy to be there.
Hell yeah, dude. Well, I'd love to make you more of a show regular. So anytime you want to be here, absolutely let me know.
Thank you.
We got the bigger StreamYard here now, so I can bring more people in. So either way,
Sweet.
if I have a couple confirmed every week, that's amazing. And then anybody else who wants to join kind of ad hoc can 100% do so. Something to consider if you have the time on Sundays. But this is a huge time commitment, everybody. Not only for myself to get the show slides put together and the show sheet and everything, but to ask of other people. It's a huge commitment every week. So when my friends here join me, when I say it's appreciated, I truly mean it, because it certainly is a big commitment. But I always have fun with you guys, and I love the chat. I love your faces, guys. I always end on a high note, because Classy, once again, good sir, we got nuts. Thanks for watching, everybody.
Wow, what a great order. Be sure to subscribe to my channel if you haven't already. Cause subscribing makes you feel good.
Where shall I go? What shall I do?
Frankly, my dear, I don't give a damn.
It's gone. It's all gone.